has visited the Badger Kart Club in more than a decade. It is a massive event that we've got here this weekend. 200 drivers for round number 3 of the 2024 U.S. Pro Kart Series season. We are so excited to bring you all of the action that is here today and tomorrow, and of course, main events on Sunday. My name is Xander Clements. Alongside me here in the booth will be Alexander Searle. And as we get set to get rolling, first things first, we need to set our lineups and groups for qualifying. So, Alex, top of the boards right now, very familiar face to the Micro Swift division, and Zane Burgess.
I think it's also getting an AMR Motorplex local, back to where, I'm kind of born and raised down there in Homestead. So, yeah, Zane Burgess, no surprise to see him topping the timing sheets of 51.6. I expect those times to continue to tumble as the track continues to get grip. For those of you who aren't in the paddock and are just watching from home, it did rain all morning long for the first 3 practices. This is now the 4th practice. This is happy hour, like Xander mentioned. This will set the grip for qualifying. This is the first session of the day that it was dry. Obviously, for the drivers that were here yesterday testing, and for the summer day for the money race, it was dry towards the latter stage of last Sunday. So a lot of testing here in the dry, but a lot of drivers also had some testing in the wet. You can still see the wet patches offline, so it's still tricky conditions out here for the drivers. Everyone's out there on slicks now. The times will continue to fall. Like I mentioned, 51.4 now for Zane Burgess. He has 2.5 tenths on Miguel Suarez there, and then Win Gottschalk about 5 tenths off in 3rd place so far. So these micro drivers just trying to navigate these tough conditions. This is the last section of the racetrack here. A good switchback, 2 in a row, 180 hairpins. We see like the rhino patches laid down there.
Practice, of course, as the session time continue to drop. Burgess' time already nearly a second quicker than some of the faster times from earlier in the session. This old school short track here that is the middle stop of the U.S. Pro Kart Series season, like Alex said, has that newer part of the circuit that does have the Rhino liner. Beyond that, it is a track that is actually out of an original WK Master track book. When we take our full look around here as the checkers flies in happy hour, you'll notice the track may look a little bit familiar to others, and that was because it was constructed in an era when the sport was really still in its infancy here in the U.S. And we'll get to talk a whole lot more about that when this session comes to a close and we officially move forward through the final rounds or final groups for happy hour. In come the first pack of the micro drivers. Zane Burgess, a 51.159, ends as our fastest. And Miguel Enrique Manzano Suarez, second quick, who has been right there with them every step of the way here in this Micro Swift division all year. Those two through the U.S. Pro Kart Series have given us a good amount of battles and a lot of entertainment, of course, with Miguel scoring the initial win back at Speed Sports, and then over the last couple of Micro Swift events, well, it has been all about the Zane show here. The Sodi Racing USA kid from Jamaica finds himself once again on top of the boards going into qualifying, and for the probably one of the very few times of all the national circuits that we're going to visit here this year, it actually may be a little bit beneficial to be the first driver out on the racetrack, because the tow that you'll get on this racetrack is so minimal compared to how technical, tight, and twisty the circuit is, that there's actually going to be a decent spread, as we can see right now, of the drivers through the field in the Micro Swift division and the Mini Swift class. That, yes, there may be some pack racing when we get towards the end of the weekend, but it is a track that is a lot better built to the size of the cadet karts when it comes to trying to show a driver's true pace. Now, of course, with the full-size karts here, like these K100 Juniors that are released on the racetrack, there's a good blend. It's somewhere in the middle from a micro and mini package to a full-size X30 Pro machine or Pro KZ kart. But here especially, same type scenario, the 100cc divisions, it is not unheard of at all to break away at Badger Kart Club. If your kart, if your setup, and if your driving is on the money, And that is not something that we're able to say at most of the places that we visit, Alex.
Yeah, that's why I'm so excited that we are actually back here on a national level here at Badger Kart Club. I got to speak with a couple of the X30 talents, so like Harley Keeble, like also in Korea last week when they were over there coaching at AMR Motoclex, just like myself. And they mentioned how awesome of a racetrack this is to drive. And it also is going to provide some racing action. Like you mentioned, if you're quick around this place, if you're a technical driver, there is the opportunity to pull away, like we saw with Zane Bridges put 5 tenths on the field happy hour. But nonetheless, I mean, with many corners here, probably about 8 or 9 passing opportunities is what the Tulio told me. Really, the only section of the racetrack that you don't see many passes is through the chicane that we just saw them go through. But this section of the racetrack, 2 switchback 180s, hard to defend here when it comes to the heat races, the pre-final and the final later on, as the 882 there goes off.
Martin Jaramillo out in turn number 1, and as you can see, he is trying to get that Team U-Race Tony Kart back on the circuit. And Blake Hunt and company are saying, nope, you're done. You have pounded the wall, and we are not. We don't have a gap. That's the only downside to this racetrack here, Alex. As much as everyone loves the challenge that this circuit provides, how tight, twisty, how old school of a feeling that it is. There are still lap times that are going to be, relatively quick. You can see already a time down at a 49.4. So there's rare opportunities for a clear piece of racetrack to re-release someone, or if you're again in qualifying or a practice session trying to find, a free piece of real estate that no one is around. Just because of the fact that everyone is fighting for clean racetrack here. You're not trying to find yourself in a pack. So I think that was part of the reason the officials may have said, sorry, Martin, we do not have a way to get you back onto this circuit. And Martin Jaramillo will undoubtedly have to go to the slow group for qualifying. Good news is here, it is a long trek up to Wisconsin. We have seen it a little bit in the entries. They are hovering, as we mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, just around 200. Only 43 here in the K100 Junior class, so that should probably put us at 2 qualifying groups rather than the usual 3 to 4. No death sentence in the form of having to fight your way through heats and try to make it through the main. The cap has been 50 in our main events this year. Everyone is going to go through to Sunday, and that'll be a first on the season. But with a first look at some of our fast drivers here, we've got some different names as the local talents are really starting to shine. How about it for Benham Abernathy on the Host Driver Development EOS kart right now? What a great run he's putting on. That was the 868, or 848, sorry, going by. I think that might have been Matthew Cagle. No, or if not, the 863 at Cash Perkins. But there's a look at the 877, our quickest kid, by over a tenth. Benham Abernathy headed into the boot, as they call it here at Badger Kart Club, a 48.38 over Enzo Vidmontien. Another kid who calls Badger Kart Club home is Braden Zerbs. He's third, only a tenth off the pace of Benham.
Yeah, a much closer field than we saw the Micro Swift happy hour so far. Less than the 10th top 2, really 2.5 tenths to the top 7, unlike a micro match, which is 5 tenths from first to second. So a tighter field here, and of course, naturally as the KA junior class, we're still going to have, the toe is going to play a slight advantage. You have the long straightaway, you have the sweeping turn 1 into turn 2 hairpins. So there's still some drafting opportunity, but like you mentioned, if you can find clean air, it really shouldn't, be too difficult for the likes of Martin Jaramillo, who's now going to have to be in the slow group for qualifying later in the afternoon. So for him, unfortunately, that's in the slow group, but nonetheless, if you can find clean air, it shouldn't, be too much of a factor as long as, nobody. But for Benham Abernathy, he shot out of like a rocket out of the grid slots there, and he hasn't looked back since. He has no one in front of him to draft off and no one to push him behind him. It doesn't seem to be a factor. A 10th clear of Brady Shad now. Another local, the 868 there. He goes up to P2. Jackson Wolney on board the Speed Concepts red speed. He goes to third there. And then Vidmontien up now to 5th place as Cash Perkins now sets best lap time as well.
Benham Abernathy has continued to improve here in this session. We're down to a 48.08. He has put 2 tenths on the field. Cash Perkins has joined him towards the top. And we still have yet to get to the second group. Now, that second group is inevitably going to be a lot faster, Alex, as this track has been soaked, it feels like, all morning long. And we're finally getting it a bit dry, but there's damp parts all around, and the times are going to drop through each session. They're going to drop a lot. So this group at somewhat of a disadvantage, I would say, for sure, compared to the group to come.
Yeah, I was going to mention, this is actually one of the first times all year long that we can look at happy hour and not really base it off of lap times and more base it off of the session that we're watching. Because for the likes of Benham Abernathy, who actually just got eclipsed by Sebastian Garzona, 48.028, so almost down to the 47s. That's pretty close to the lap times we can expect from the KA juniors, but still more lap time to come from those guys. So, like you mentioned, still another group to go after these guys there. We saw Martin Henrillo just sitting in his go-kart having to watch these drivers go around lap after lap. Frustrating for him, but obviously, like I mentioned earlier, it shouldn't be too much of an issue because as long as you can get clean air, it's not that, it doesn't affect you that much, as we see with Benham Abernathy. Clear daylight in front and behind them. The lap times continuing to fall now. Diego Ardiles goes to second. Alexander Vanchev on board the Sodi Kart USA goes to third. That is a very, very tight field here for the KA junior class. 300th of a second separates your top 7.
Yeah, super, super close. And again, the cool part is having a few new faces joining them at the top of the leaderboard. Now, I will say as well that along with Benham Abernathy as some of the local heroes doing a great job, how about it for Brady Shad on the Franklin Motorsports Merlin? He's top 10 right now in the 868. They're all chasing Garzone. Now they're chasing Ardiles and Vidmontien, who find about another 10th and a half more. So this group, I think part of also why we're seeing it be so close together is the simple fact that they're all, developing, the track, I guess, or they're finding the limits, and the track's getting better lap by lap. No one's really got a setup edge. No one's even probably got much of a slick driving edge after just one day of testing. Everyone's just slowly inching the gear back, inching their setups back to full dry conditions. We may or may not be there for some of the field yet. They may still have some grip dialed in the go-kart that they're expecting to take out. But at this point, by the end of 2 full days of practice is when you would sometimes find someone with a bit of an edge. Maybe they found a little bit on gearing, or they were able to figure out as a driver of the track sooner in the weekend, could start experimenting with setup a lot earlier than someone else that has needed most of Thursday and some of Friday to fix a bit of their driving lines. But in this case, again, they had Thursday. This is still a drastically different track than that. With all the water that has come through, and the track is just changing lap by lap. So you're seeing, yes, some of the familiar faces towards the top of the boards, but no one really has probably an outright pace advantage because no one's gotten more than literally these laps today in these kinds of conditions to try and find more speed, whether it's in driving, especially if any coaching off the track, any setup, any gearing, none of that. They're all just kind of bone stock, I'd imagine, right now.
Yeah, this is awesome. I mean, this is what it's truly about, being a driver here. Obviously, we had the money race last weekend. Rained for most of the day, dried up towards the latter stage of Sunday. Yesterday, it was a pretty dry racetrack. A lot of drivers reported that it got grippier and grippier as the day went on. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of drivers started to two-wheel around the hairpins. But as the rain came in overnight, all throughout the morning, it pretty much washed away a lot of the grip that we saw, come into the track yesterday. Now the grip is starting to still be laid down with the Micro Swifts, with the KA Juniors, and it's going to continue to be laid down all the way until the X30 Senior class later on this afternoon before qualifying. So the track will continue to improve. The drivers are still really trying to figure out exactly where to place their go-karts here, and obviously we had the rain come in this morning. Who knows what these drivers went out with setup, like you mentioned. A lot of them probably out there on a bone stock setup, or maybe want a 50-50. They don't know really where the grip is. They only had some of their micro drivers, if the teams brought a micro driver this weekend, to base it off of. So a lot of them probably played it safe and said, you know what, let's just go back to ground zero here and dial it back. Like we basically took the cart out of the box. So once again, happy hour, an important session because it lines you up for qualifying. But nonetheless, it's not a session to look at if you're a driver maybe down in, outside the top 20 from where you'd like to be. This isn't really a lap time session because you're just trying to get your cart dialed back in for qualifying, unlike what we expect to see in a normal happy hour sense.
Yeah, and the fact that the first group has to go out there, dry the track off more for the second group, We may see still a little bit of that by the time they roll back around for qualifying. I'd imagine the track will be pretty close, and running shorter qualifying sessions also is going to kind of keep them level from the slow group to the fast group. I would imagine probably top 6 to top 10, you should be safe for sure. Enzo Vidmontian, a 47.6 at the end of that session. That should be pretty safe, but, you know, we're seeing them all pick up over a second over the course of, you know, the 7 or 8 laps they're getting in these final practice sessions, if not running the full distance. And I think that we're going to see probably a lot of that all the way to maybe the end of our happy hour rotation with X30 Pro. But that'll be the tell of when the track is starting to balance out from group to group, is when they only pick up maybe 2 or 3 tenths from session to session. If they're picking up a full second, second and a half from lap 1 to the last lap, just like we're seeing right now, then the second group, whether you got lucky enough to go into it or not, is at a major, major pace advantage. So again, Enzo Vidmontian, 47.6. Will that hold to the end of this one? The odds from Vegas would say no, but that kid has also beaten the odds more times than not this year to get himself a checkered flag, as we watched Group 2 be led onto the racetrack by none other than a couple of young guns in Michael McGoy and Brandon Saraki.
Yeah, behind him as well, Ty Fisher. He's been quick all weekend long. Struggled a bit in the rain this morning, but in the dry weather conditions, he feels really confident on board that TV Kart machine. He's had a really strong start to his year. The 838 has the Canadian Ty Fisher. He's been really, really impressive. I think last year was kind of a breakout for him, but this year definitely the breakout year for him in both the K and the X30 Junior class. So expect a lot from him as well. Further back, we have a couple of the Nash Motorsports drivers there, a couple of the Franklin Motorsports drivers. So a couple of the locals here in this session, but like you mentioned, the 47.6 is the time that they're all chasing. This sets you up for qualifying. You want to be inside of that top 20, so you're not in the slow group for qualifying. Shouldn't be that much of a disadvantage to be in a slow group like it would be at a track like maybe Newcastle, where a bunch of the fast guys are in the fast group and you can get a good tow. If you're in a slow group, but you can just create some, distance between yourself and the carts in front of you, it shouldn't be too much of a factor. We've seen it happen before. We've seen many drivers be able to get out of the slow group and still qualify well. So I don't think it's too much of a worry for these drivers to go out there and put the laps down. It's more of, let's get the cart back to what we expect the setup to be throughout the weekend, because hopefully, looking at the radar, I don't want to say the word, but rain should stay away for the rest of the weekend, but who knows, because earlier on in the week, the rain wasn't supposed to be here today, and now it did arrive, and it arrived for longer than it was expected. So who knows, good old Wisconsin weather arrived us, and it's created some pretty interesting practice sessions this morning.
Yeah, there has been some crazy weather, even through last weekend, leading into the Millwright Shootout. Over $30,000 in cash and prizes handed out as a warm-up event before this weekend, put on by the Badger Kart Club. And then, here for the U.S. Pro Kart Series teams and drivers that weren't in town already, rolling in, have experienced a bit. I mean, the last couple of days were pretty nice. Tuesday through Thursday here, sunny skies, got a bit warm during the day, was perfect temperatures at night, it felt like. I was talking with a couple people on the grid, and we all had agreed, like, as great as it was yesterday and the days prior, don't get used to it. And sure enough, here everyone rolled out of bed this morning and probably had a collective groan looking out the window to see that the wet weather had arrived. So as we watch Michael McGoy head across the line, the question now becomes, how long does it take for these drivers to figure out the drying racetrack and pick up some speed on their own? At the moment, it is pretty much still the top 9 from the original group. McGoy has now jumped up into 10th with just a couple of laps complete so far. With that said here, we're just guessing at the end of the day, me and Alex. But we do have some more intel, and that begins with a number of the drivers down on the grid. So let's go down and talk with one of those drivers specifically and get a bit of his point of view of what things are like here. Alessandro DiTullio, a fellow Miamian, Alex, you mentioned here, likes the way to get or likes getting around this place. Ale, can you tell us anything that you picked up from today, getting some laps in the rain, not sure what the weather's going to look like to the end of the weekend?
Yeah, today was a little bit tough when, we expected rain in the morning, and then we expected it to stop a bit sooner, but yeah, it rained throughout all the free practice sessions. So I think now going into happy hour and obviously qualifying should stay dry. So yeah, I mean, the rain line at the beginning, the first session I did struggle a bit. I was just trying different things, different lines in each corner. and then I did that on purpose just to see, like, on the data and on the video what's best, and then I went out the second session and was pretty solid, and from there it was just, you know, trying to take away every little bit of time we could in the rain. So yeah, I think our pace in the rain is quite good, and our pace in the dry was quite good yesterday. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the last 2 sessions today.
With that, Ali, as well, you come into this weekend looking very, very good when we take a look at the points championship. What would it mean? You've already got a SCUSA Winter Series title this year, but to bring one of the big 3 regular season championships home to Inter-MS.
Yeah, I mean, for the team, for all of us, it would mean a lot to take the championship, but there's still a lot of races to go this weekend, and then 2 more, I think. So, you know, we just got to keep our head down and keep improving, keep doing our best, and then if it comes to us, you know, we'll learn from the negatives. But as of now, we're looking good. So I'm focused on this weekend, not really focused on the championship. Just want to win the race, and yeah, and you know, if it could happen, that would be great.
Well, we wish you best of luck on trying to bring home that race win. I know that's something that has eluded your grasp a little bit, and you've been close. But more than anything, you've been consistent. That's why we ask you about the points, because you're in it. So good to hear from you, Ale. We wish you best of luck here as you get set for happy hour on the rest of the weekend for yourself and the pink and chrome Inter-MS boys.
Thank you, guys.
Once again, everyone, that was Alessandro DiTullio as we lock back into the on-track action here in KA Junior. And Alex, looking at it, our top 10 has shifted a little bit. Dean Peterson has taken his Nash Motorsports EOS kart to the top. And, well, Nash Motorsports, not from Wisconsin, far from it. The California-based team, and Dean himself from Riverside, California. Long trek for them to get here. But they were the ones at the end of that Millwright shootout last weekend, standing tall and proud with the $5,000 check for Ryan Persing, winning that KA Senior shootout, and getting the sword, which is, of course, the special trophy that's kind of been, I would call it, somewhat Midwest, and then since the last few years has been owned basically by the major one-off events hosted here in Wisconsin. So they have figured this place out evidently pretty well, and it looks like their junior drivers are as well. Dean Peterson, P2, fastest in the group on circuit right now.
Yeah, I think something to note here, this might be, you know, the time of the day, the time of racetrack where we're starting to see the plateau begin. I mean, we're seeing a lot of drivers in this second group improve upon what we saw in that first group, but nobody's been able to eclipse the 47.6 by Enzo Vidmartien. So it could be a bit of both, right? It could be part of Enzo Vidmartien just going back to what he's been able to do all year long and really maybe overachieve what is possible out of the group, out of the go-kart during the time of session. But for Peterson, for Amador Martinez now up into that third spot, for Eric Doan in 5th, for Michael McGoy in 8th, Pettit 9th. They have all eclipsed the likes of Sebastian Garzone, who ended that session in the top 5, Wolney as well. Turner Brown down there in that 12th position. So a stacked fielder in the KA Junior class, but if no one's been able to beat that Vidmartien 47.643, this could be the time where all of a sudden that racetrack is not starting to ramp up as quick as people expected, or if maybe there's not much more for the track to go as this time of day.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there may not be much left to go, or the track is starting to fade off, but the fact that Enzo's time is still, at this point in the session, holding strong is a very good sign for not just the track beginning to even out, but whether it's evened or not, it's a great sign for Trinity Karting Group and Kart Republic to have one of their major junior drivers as the quickest, with clear racetrack guaranteed going into qualifying, being the first one to be released. And you mentioned here there's maybe 2 tow zones. One on the dogleg coming to end your lap here at the end of the front stretch. We follow Eric Doan and Peterson through turn 1. Another one here on the run from turn 1 to turn 3. Now, if you have a tow section of the racetrack, you know, a heavy, long straightaway, a big draft zone, and it's at the beginning of the lap, it's kind of worthless because you're going to catch someone. You're going to have to start the lap within 5 to 6 car lengths to get that benefit of the draft. And then the moment that they're a little bit slower in any of the rest of the racetrack that's not tow dependent, that is more technical, you're going to end up, having to hit the brakes early and get bottled in traffic. If the tow zone is at the end of the lap, then different story. When we run Newcastle, for example, forwards versus backwards, it's a totally different game to play when it comes to qualifying. When it's going the typical direction that place has been ran for 20-plus years of operation, then yes, it is great to start a lap 5 or 6 car lengths behind someone because there's 2 1,000-foot straightaways at the end of the lap. But here you can see right there, Travis Pettit got a big run right up to Michael McGoy, and he had to kind of bail out of it in turn 1. And even though he's going to gain back up on him in the run to 3, he's already on the bumper at this point where he'll have to pass him if he wants to make it a good lap further back. It's looks like we've got some other visitors joining the racetrack along with just the drivers in their karts.
Yeah, you made a really good point there, right? Because with the KA Junior class, it's become a class, the KA in general, of, a draft is super, super important, just like it would be in a micro and a mini, really in any class, but especially in the KA category. That's why the racing is always so close. It tends to have maybe a 5-plus kart train, but at this racetrack, if you can really put a flyer of a lap down, you can pull away. The only section of the racetrack that it can become an advantage if you time it, and I know it's the old saying that I'm sure if any of you out there have had a driver coach that said, oh, just time it. It's easier said than done, but if you can time the draft out of the final hairpin, you can get a toe through the last corner dog leg into turn 1. It might give you half a tenth to a tenth with a really good run out of the corner, but I think it's more beneficial to go out there and just do your own thing, focus on your own lap times. And that's why I think the drivers that are benefiting most in this happy hour are the ones that are by themselves, really focusing on the setup that they can, improve upon for the qualifying.
Yeah, and as we look to qualifying, Amador Martinez is another driver that has joined the conversation as potentially a pole award winner with a very good lap that has put him all the way up to 2nd overall. Drew Jensen on the parallel in the top 5. And finally, it's taken us the entire session. At the very end, Ty Fisher has laid down a heater on the Race Lab Karting TV, 47.614. So for the first time and what may be the only time the second group surpasses Enzo Vidmontien. And whether it's Vidmontien's good pace or the track really is finally starting to stabilize, we are seeing a pretty even balance between the top 10 in this group and the top 10 in group the first group that went out. I will say it looks like there's definitely more from Group 2 joining up in that fray than less. But either way, there's a look as the merge and overall grid ends up. Ty Fisher over Enzo Vidmontien here at the end of the KA100 Junior Combined Happy Hour practice results. Amador Martinez, Dean Peterson with some really good runs for them. Eric Doan as well on the Speed Sense Motorsports X-Spree, that small Northern California-based team led by Austin Elliott in the top 5. Drew Jensen on the parallel in 6th. Diego Ardiles, debut weekend with Speed Concepts Racing and Red Speed is 7th. Alexander Vanchev and onwards with the cut line ending up by what I can estimate somewhere around 21st, 22nd, 23rd. That'd be somewhere between Brady Shad, Isaac Nolan, Max Weiland, and Austin Dromalev, as there is a little bit of drama here on the grid. Check this out. This is Austin Jers, his return weekend here at his home racetrack, having something amiss with the right front tire. So you can see they have pulled the entire hub off. That is one of the spacers that goes in to adjust the front track width. And that's on the ground. They're going to quickly get that back on. So this is something that we normally haven't. We've seen quite a few grid skirmishes and quick runs over the season so far, Alex. This is the first time I've seen basically a front track width adjustment down on the grid, while the other half of the group's already been released, and Alan Isambard leads us out. But that's a new one.
Yeah, for sure, a new one. We don't really know if it was just left loose or if they just decided, you know what, let's make a quick adjustment on the grid. That is very much could be the case. We see it all the time. Yeah, they are in fact doing a change here. They're taking out the left front as well. They said, you know what, either the track width was too wide or too narrow for the conditions of the racetrack, and we're going to make an adjustment here. We're going to basically burn 2 or 3 warm-up laps, maybe a little bit more, with only about a 46-second lap time for the KA seniors. So they're going to burn a couple of laps here, but they'd rather do that and let Austin Jers go out there with a kart that he's more comfortable with.
Yeah, so interesting scenario for sure for Austin Jers, and they're going to make quickly tighten that hub. Now, hopefully, all the tires will stay on the 931 because, again, he needs a good run in this session. This group, just like KA Junior, is going to have at least 1, if not 2 splits for qualifying. And if the track is better to go in the fast group, as we've seen, it was a little better still for happy hour to go in the second group than the first group, and they were, of course, randomly balanced, then it could make all the difference for Austin to safely transfer to the top 15, top 20 or so, and be around other fast drivers in qualifying, or find himself trying to avoid some very slow traffic by having to fight out of the slow group, as the pair of Sodis, Steven Eisert and Alan Isambard, are our first two benchmarks around this racetrack to try and keep an eye on here in KA100 Senior. Let's take a look as the times start to come on in slowly but surely for KA100 Senior Happy Hour. As mentioned, just like Junior, we're only going to see half the drivers here in this first group. The other half will go out in the second group. That's why that timer up in the top left-hand corner of the screen is showing 0, because there is, of course, the transition time. They're set all individually to run around a 10-minute final practice session to get a read for qualifying and the heat races tomorrow. But they're not going to use the timer for for time remaining on the timing screen. They're just going to have Porter down on the front straightaway, keep a stopwatch for us. Now, with the KA seniors out, they're slowly learning. We've got one kid who just learned really, really well in that first KA junior session. Ty Fisher is standing by down in the scale line. Ty, that last lap was the money lap, but it was just by a little bit over Enzo from Group 1. Where do you feel like the track is? Are we back to at least 100% dry conditions? Because there wasn't a huge delta from the first group to your group.
Yeah, I think the track's 100% dry now. It's just how you're driving. But if you go offline at all, it's very slippery and it'll set you back a while.
Talk to me about the progress here for this practice day for you and the Race Lab TV group. You guys have been on a pretty good wave of momentum of top 5, top 3 runs, yourself and Travis Pettit. What have you been able to learn over the 2 days so far here in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday we were just learning the track. So it was all dry conditions, but today it's been up and down with the weather, raining and dry. So this is the first dry session that we've had so far today, and we're able to put it together.
Now, for the viewers at home, they may or may not know from all of our broadcasts of talking about the Rhino liner, the dark black surface here, that extra patchwork. There is an entire hairpin on this racetrack coated with Rhino liner, that second to last corner. What is it like for someone at home to drive on that compared to regular asphalt? And what's the secret to going fast on it?
Just trusting that it's going to grip and making sure that you're being smooth, because if you're not smooth, it's just going to start hopping and slow you down. So driving smooth, and it's just grippy, almost like Europe grip.
Well, Ty, great to catch up with you. I'm sure you've got to be a little bit pumped up to have a lap like that and some good pace and momentum going into qualifying. We'll keep our eyes on you. Do you have everything in it to pull off a pole award or maybe 2 today?
Yeah, I definitely think so. The chassis has been on rails all week. It's been on rails everywhere we've been, and now that we have the teammate, it's really helped. So, yeah, I think we'll get a pole award or 2.
All right, Ty, sounding confident here. Thanks for chatting with us, buddy.
Thank you, Xander.
All right, there you have it from Ty Fisher and Race Lab Karting's TB Kart Juniors. As we mentioned, Travis Pettit and himself have been very fast over the last few races that we followed them, and they are still really quick here in Wisconsin as well, with Ty ending quickest over Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic's Enzo Vidmontian. We're now following Enzo's teammate up in KA Senior, Finnegan Bailiff, in the 949. Kind of an up and down season for Finn, with some big wins and also some rougher weekends. But he's coming off a very, very good weekend at his home racetrack, the SCUSA Pro Tour, headed to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati 2 weeks ago. Won on Saturday, podiumed on Sunday, and he has put himself in the points lead in that championship. He is going to be looking forward, I'm sure, to bringing the U.S. Pro Kart Series to the Trinity Karting Group home base next month. In a month and a half time in August, and try to leapfrog himself up the points in this series. But for Finn this weekend, that's the tough part about the Rhino liner that we saw last week at Pittsburgh, and it is here in this hairpin and the last one as well. It is so easy to put those karts up on 2 wheels, especially if you're a bit of a bigger guy like Finn Bailiff, and he just shook his head right there. That's a scary moment, Alex. I don't know how many times you've been on 2 wheels, but it's not what you're supposed to do for sure.
Yeah, it's happened to me a couple of times during, maybe the Charlotte road course, and I hit some curbs I shouldn't have that were meant for cars. But in terms of using the Rhino liner to two-wheel, not very often. So for Finn Bailiff, they're shaking his head. More than I think the scary aspect, it's more of that means the cart really isn't hooked up like he would like it to be. You look at where he sits in the standings right now. Finn Bailiff struggling slightly for pace out there. 4/10 off. He sits in 8th, but with the second group still to come right now, that'll put Finn Bailiff probably in the slow group if he can't find any more pace. Speaking of finding pace, Austin Jers, clearly that front track width change has helped out. A 47.188 puts him P1 right now in Group 1 for KA Senior and Happy Hour. So it definitely paid off to lose about 2 or 3 laps of Happy Hour to get the quick lap. For Mick Gabriel, didn't go out all morning in the rain, decides, you know what, I'm going to go out there for the dry session. He's 3,000ths off, sitting in 2nd place. And how about it for the hometown kid, Quinn McPherson? He sits in 3rd, 400th off. So this is a really tightly knit field up in the top 3, and none of those drivers are close to each other on the racetrack, so they're all doing it on their own, showing that really you don't need a buddy to go and be fast. There's Emery Lida there, the host driver, finding some pace, was not up to par for what he would like in the rain session. Told me just a little bit too much grip in the go-kart. He's been two-wheeling everywhere there. You see him get 2 tires up in the air in the final corner, so he's still struggling to keep those rear tires on the ground. Talked to a few of the host guys, actually. They said, listen, if you're gonna two-wheel, because it is pretty much inevitable in the Rhino liner, you almost got to add some more wheel into it and just trust it and roll the speed. Just hammer the throttle down and trust it. If you go out there and almost get afraid of the fact that the cart's going to flip over, that's when things can go south. So if you're out there on the racetrack, you're starting to realize the cart's hopping, starting to two-wheel, throw some more wheel in it. Add some more throttle. Really trust the grip. Emery Lida there backing off, trying to see what Mick Gabriel's doing, get behind Mick, maybe get a bit of a tow here in the final few laps of his Happy Hour.
Yeah, Mick Gabriel's quick, so that's a good guy to go and drop behind. Like you said, only going out for this session in the dry, and he's 0.003 of a second off of Austin Jers, who has more laps around this racetrack than most in this division. Austin grew up racing here. We haven't seen Austin Jers recently on the national karting tour that we have been on, and that's because him and his father have begun the foray into the Trans Am Series. They've been doing it as a privateer effort. Right now they have not gone into the TA2 pro events yet, but catching up with them, their focal point, and the big point he made is over there, it's not nearly as easy to get information or for people to share setup intel. They just kind of want to, ask you, hey, if you want to know what we're doing to our race car, then you've got to come and pay to run with us. But they've really come to enjoy this weekend to this point of getting to see so many people in the karting paddock they haven't seen for quite some time, and the atmosphere that amongst, and across a lot of team boundaries, you can get a lot of help. And, Austin Jers doing it front and center right in front of our camera just showed everyone that I would imagine they probably went from pretty wide in the front to a little more narrow in the front to make it to take some grip out, as the track is already having enough grip built into it. That's something that I'm sure everyone else is paying attention to as well, as Gabriel closing up here to another one of the Speed Sense Motorsports X-Pre entries. I believe that's Valen Venkatesh. Venkatesh right now is outside the top 10, but not far necessarily from a number of drivers in front of him. He's only about a 10th off the first 5 on the road in the boards up ahead of him. He's 19th, but only a 10th off of what should be around 14th. And Mick Gabriel there past him, looked like he was going to set up for another lap, ultimately has bailed out. So he'll sit on his 47.191. AJ Myers has really closed the gap to the rest of the field. He's gotten down to 0.007 off of Austin Jers' time in 3rd, and the Magic Man goes from single speed to gearbox racing more effortlessly than I think anyone that we see on the entire North American Tour, Alex.
Yeah, I was about to mention, the 2 shifter boys, they were 4th and 5th. Now Myers puts himself 0.007 off of what Jers did to put himself in 3rd. But for Isambard, he went from shifter earlier on in the Winter Series to KA Senior and hasn't looked back. He had a dominant start to his KA Senior campaign earlier on in the year. It slowed down slightly when we went over to the track house, but nonetheless, for Isambard, it has been a very strong year for him as well in the KA Senior category. But for AJ Myers, who doesn't really get in the single speed seats as often as a lot of these drivers, really any of these drivers in the KA Senior class, it's always impressive to see what AJ can do, especially with the limited seat time that he gets. People think that he actually is in the seat more often than he actually is. He's busy running a team, working as well. So for AJ Myers, shows up to the racetrack, does what he likes, puts it third in happy hour.
Yeah, it goes to show that if you've got that good buildup of experience, you don't necessarily need to redo it every single year, just racing enough to stay fresh in it. Austin Elliott, Team Speed Sense Motorsports owner, had only done maybe one test day earlier this year, and the last time he'd been in the kart was September of last year. Went out, ran that Millwright shootout, and finished 8th. He was pretty stoked about it, but again, another driver with many years of experience, his background in the sport, but doesn't, drive all that much. He doesn't get to enjoy the candy and the fruits of owning a karting team because he's literally been in the seat now 2 days this year, and we're 6 months in to racing season. But hopefully he can get his boys up front, and he might even enjoy that more than his 8th place finish for himself last week to see one of the Speed Sense Motorsports X-Prees end up with a maiden national win this weekend. Now with the second group released here, we've got our eyes on a few of the heavy hitters that we expect to be towards the front. 2 of them here in frame. Actually, really almost 3. But first, let's start with the black and blue Kart Republic. Cameron Weinberg, the Chad Dawkin Racing driver, has been so fast. Everywhere we've gone, Cam Bam has been quick. And you talk about another guy that gets not that much seat time for what people think he might get because he took a whole year off. And at his age and level of development, that's not the same as a 27 or 28-year-old AJ Myers taking a gap year, taking some time off. For Austin at 29, this is a driver that I believe is just 17, 18, 19 years old. In that younger age, was just starting to really hit his peak coming into senior and out of junior, and that's when they took the gap. And there's still so much more that you learn. Cameron as well, being able to jump back in, be fast off the rip, has been impressive. He is knocking on the door of a major win, as is that young man there in the blue helmet, leading a pair of GFCs here in Keegan Kaminsky. And what kind of a heartbreaking run he had 2 weeks ago at Cincinnati, Alex. Had that nose cone break in the main event on the opening lap. The race got restarted. Race control didn't pick it up until after the flag. He had just a run full of heart in the top 5, only to get disqualified after for the broken bodywork.
Yeah, but Keegan Kaminsky has had a very, very strong year here in the KA senior category. And behind him, that's his buddy and teammate, Jake Drew. He doesn't get much karting anymore here, running the USPKS series as well. Or sorry, no, that is Jesus Vasquez. Sorry, Jesus Vasquez. They have very similar team helmets there to Jake Drew. I was like, I don't think he's here this weekend. But there's Jesus Vasquez inside. Has also had a very, very strong season so far in the KA senior category. The GFC boys have really found their stride in the single speed section. They've always been very powerful and strong in the shifter category, but we knew the pace was there with Keegan in the junior category. But when he moved up to senior, they brought in Jesus Vasquez, they brought in Jake Drew for select events as well, and they've shown that single speed package works.
Amid all the names that we have mentioned, though, we have not talked about the newest kid on top of the boards that has gone nearly a full tenth quicker than Austin Gers. Shout out to Alex Feldstein, making his X30 Pro debut this weekend, pulling double duty in KA Senior and the 125 Pro Single Speed Division. He is now the fastest driver, and Holtz Driver Development already has had a couple firsts this year. First national win with Nick Terlecki at the Stars Championship Series over in Newcastle, Indiana. And now, as they call themselves one of the handful of teams that is here at Badger Kart Club, as often as almost anyone else, they would be loving a major win here this week, and especially for a homegrown talent like Alex Feldstein. Nick Terlecki has been around the sport for a while and really spent a lot of his years developing under Jamie Zaracki and Franklin Motorsports. They've known how quick Nick is. Josh Holtz has bounced around a handful of programs, also spent a lot of time with Franklin and Jamie before launching his own program. But Alex Feldstein, on the national tour at least, has pretty much always been under the tutelage of Josh and Nick and the rest of the Holtz DD camp. For them to bring him into a podium or potential race win this weekend would be huge, and I'm sure they've had this race circled on the calendar as an event that this could be the weekend that we really have a massive shot. But even Alex, what's more impressive, I don't know what's more impressive, the fact that he's putting the laps together that he is, or the fact he's a bigger, taller driver, and you saw even there the two-wheeling happening slightly less for him than some of the others. But he still was lifting that front tire off the ground along with the typical rear tire when he was going through those final two hairpins, Alex.
Yeah, I've seen that with a lot of the Holtz drivers. I haven't really recognized it with the other drivers, but I saw with Emery Lida in the first session in KA Senior really getting almost 3 tires in the air through that final hairpin. We saw it there with Feldstein as well. So interesting, maybe a setup difference for the Holtz guys. This could be an amazing weekend for them. Like you mentioned, this has really been a breakout year for them. They got their their maiden national win with Nick Terlecki. Josh Holtz has been in the mix. He's been quick in the rain. He was quick last week at the money race, racing against Ryan Norberg in that one as well. So showed really, really good pace there. Josh, he told me he kind of wished that it would stay raining because he's, kind of a rain master, as we like to call him, a taller guy such as Josh Holtz. So, but nonetheless, in the dry, a lot of experience on this racetrack, a track that he has grown to know and love and has had success in the past. So for the Holtz Driver Development Team, this is, setting up to potentially be a really, really strong weekend for them in both KA Senior and X30 side of things, as well as other classes that they are also entered in. But for Feldstein, holding on to that top spot here in Happy Hour as well, ahead of Gers, McGabriel, AJ Myers, Macpherson, Isambard, Vasquez Jr. So if you look really, that 2nd through 6th is still from Group 1. Then we have Feldstein, Vasquez Jr., and Overbeck, but a lot of drivers from that first group really holding on to their lap times. They're remaining strong, but still a couple of laps to go here in this happy hour session before the checkered flag comes out. And usually around the the last lap or second to last lap, a lot of drivers are able to find that half a tenth or a tenth. That's been the trend that we've seen so far in happy hours. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. There's a 948 James Overbeck. Really, really strong year for him, but has been unlucky in certain instances. We saw at MCC, had a really strong run, almost hawks down Stephen Miller at the line. So that win is coming for the BJR MDR driver potentially this weekend. For Overbeck up to 7th, 2.5 tenths back from Feldstein. But with Overbeck being, around a lot of traffic right now, it doesn't do him any good around Badger Kart Club, as we saw Terlecki drop 2 tires in the grass and go way wide.
Yeah, and he wasn't sure he was going to make it here, James Overbeck. After, that weekend where he was running so good, that kart was destroyed with the contact into the wall that happened coming and basically really after the checkered flag alongside Stephen Miller. And after the run they had, and I'm sure how fired up Brandon Jarchakrak was for him, he said, no, we're finding a way, and you guys got to get up here for this race. We'll figure out the go-kart part when we get to it. Let's just get to Badger. Let's get you guys on the plan still to roll to this event. And James Overbeck, whatever they're on, whether it's a fixed-up frame from that crash there with replacing the broken parts or something a bit different, it looks pretty sporty. 7th here in the closing stages of Happy Hour. And really that puts him still in the top 5 in his current group, as it's Feldstein quickest of the group on track, McPherson, Terlecki, Overbeck, and then Alan Isambard was quick in the first group. Vasquez Jr. quick in this group. But Alex Feldstein, such a performance like this puts you on the radar a little more. And, we think back to you know, him as well at that Cincinnati weekend. I mean, he qualified great, better on Sunday even than Saturday. And Saturday he was already starting to mix it up, but just literally getting shuffled around, sometimes picking the wrong lane when karts would go side by side, or the wrong moment to try and make a move or fight or defend a move. And a blend of probably being the new kid on the block, got roughed up pretty good. So here, there's, I'd imagine, a bit more of a swagger for Alex. Not only, okay, there's no more nerves of my first time in the lead pack, but I own this place. I'm fast here. You guys are coming to my house, and you're going to have to beat me if you want to win this weekend at Badger Kart Club. And that statement rings very true with the performance that he has kicked things off with. Fastest in happy hour, Alex Feldstein, and Hoach Driver Development at a 47.097. Austin Jers, Quick McGabriel, AJ Myers still there in the fourth spot in the hunt as we go to the rest of the weekend. Fast as always. Beyond AJ, you've got James Overbeck on a late run. A good final 2 laps for Overbeck kept moving him up the charts. He is second in this group, 5th overall. McPherson, Terlecki, Alan Isambard, Jesus Vasquez Jr., and Connor Ferris, late runs for them to crack the top 10. You look at how close it is, though, back to McPherson, a 10th and a quarter, your top 6. And most of those laps pretty much without tow. That just shows how close the fast drivers always are. But also, I still think part of the reason why the times are as tight as they are right now, Alex, is that no one has had those extra sessions to try and find an extra half-tenth or 10th in gearing or chassis setup. They're all still pretty much going in equally blind and haven't had the opportunity to kind of demonstrate the team or tuner or driver coach's expertise and experience quite yet by making those gains that, from session 1 to session 2, you and I might be the same, but if you know how to tune a go-kart a little better than me, you might start to pick up session 2 to session 3, and that delta could open. But thankfully, we haven't seen it yet. We might not end up seeing it till tomorrow, which could make qualifying very interesting here from Dousman. So they're going to take a moment, as there were a lot of KA seniors rolling in the scales. The mini slips will now roll onto the racetrack to begin their outlaps, and we will step away for just a few moments to hear from our partners, as there is a little bit of an issue for Aston Wyatt getting off the grid. Actually, before we go, let's make sure he gets off. He does. Aston will join us, and we'll join back with the mini slip drivers when we return from Dousman.
Hey guys, it's Dave here from Kart Class. We're at MCC, the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. We're here to show you guys the fastest way to drive this almost 1 mile circuit. It offers both fast sweeping corners, some fast chicanes, and a technical switchback that leads into a long main straight. Let's find out where to brake, where to accelerate, and where the best places to overtake. So let's get stuck into it.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Kart Class has done the hard work for you. We've traveled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Kart Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack. Pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States. And Australia, you're up next. So visit kartclass.com to get your track information.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today. Welcome back to Badger Kart Club as happy hour practice continues now with the Mini Swift drivers on the circuit. So while Mini Swift drivers continue to roll and begin their happy hour practice, let's as well get set to hear from some of our faster KA100 seniors. James Overbeck is standing by down in the scale line. Good final lap for James, was able to move him another spot higher inside the top 5. So let's go down and hear from a driver who has been on a hot streak of top finishes, and so far looking like that could continue here today. James, been a busy summer stretch for you, buddy. Lots of good runs, lots of good pace. Looks like the pace seems pretty good for your only shot in the dry so far today. How is it?
Yeah, it's definitely good. I wasn't really sure what to expect. We struggled a little bit yesterday. But, yeah, it seemed to work out well. Everyone under the tent, Brandon, Paulie, Smiles, they all said, I think we'll be good for tomorrow once we put the race motor on. And sure enough, we have a good piece so far, so hopefully we can keep it up and keep it up there.
And talk to me about this weekend. It's probably a little bit of a different feel under the BJR MDR tent to just have a handful of guys. But have you guys been having a good time? And how's been the rest of the drivers, would you rate, across the group? You know, Paulie, obviously Marco, Samet. You've got guys in almost every different class. Is everyone as strong as you?
I know some of our cadet guys were pretty good earlier today. I'm not sure how they end up in happy hour just yet. Marco's out there right now. But I know Paulie's been fast this morning. LP was pretty quick this morning too. I'm not sure how Zerves is doing, but yes, this weekend's been pretty fun so far. I think we only have 5 people on the tent, but it's been pretty fun so far, cracking a lot of jokes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the weekend with them.
From our vantage point and from what everyone feels like on the outside, this track is a major shock to the rest of the circuits we've been visiting for National KA and X30 racing. Is that fair to say? Is this a big difference in driving style and setup and how you have to attack it?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different for sure. I mean, for me, I've raced here before, but it's been like 5 years, and tracks like these is what I really grew up on, especially like G&J, places like that. So it's not too different to me, honestly, but I could definitely see how to a majority of the people here, this is something that they've never seen before. So it's definitely a lot different, and I don't hate it. It's definitely a nice change to go to all these different racetracks to really prove who's the best.
Well, we'll see if you're able to prove it here. Is confidence high enough for a poll later this afternoon? You're 5th in happy hour. You're close.
Yeah, hopefully. I wasn't really expecting to be in the top 5 for happy hour, but it's definitely nice to be up there, and hopefully we can get a poll a little later on.
All right. Thanks for chatting with us, James. We'll let you get back to work.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, there you go from James Overbeck as we lock back in with our Mini Swift final practice session of the afternoon. That's Royce Vega in the 133 Bennick. The Texans had a feels like kind of more of a silent summer than maybe he expected. With qualifying runs that have continuously kind of put Royce on the back foot and having to charge forward. He always finds a way to get into the lead group by the end of the weekend, but I'm sure it would be a welcome surprise or maybe just a welcome sigh of relief if Royce was able to go right to the top of qualifying later on this afternoon and start on the pole for all 3 heat races compared to the last couple of national runs that he's had, where it's taken a little more into the weekend for the natural pace we're expected to see out of that DKC Bennick driver to come together. Right now, he's 6th and only a little bit off the pace of Jose Carlos Murad, so he's close to where he needs to be.
How about the driver that sits right above him in that 5th spot, Parker Ives, the 148 machine. I mean, the RPM driver has been absolutely flying all year long, as there is the 123 Violet March out the exit of turn number 1 there. So the Franklin Motorsports mini Swift driver going to be out of this warm session, or at least spun around. But like you mentioned earlier, it's hard for drivers to get re-fired up once they've spun around here with really short runoffs here at Badger Kart Club. But like I mentioned with Parker Ives, the RPM driver, he has been incredibly fast all weekend long. We see one of the USPKS workers trying to push Violet back onto the racetrack, and she's able to get that cart fired back up and running. So good for March there to continue on for her happy hour session. There's the 148 machine, Parker Ives leading a group of Paralympic drivers. That's Grayson Walcott behind him as well. He's another driver that's had maybe I'd say a quiet start to his summer compared to the pace that he showed earlier on in the year, and really at the latter stages of last year on board that Paralympic mini Swift machine. So for Grayson, I mean, it's a first year in the mini Swift class, trying to get his bearings about him. The pace has been there. The luck has it. Every time that I speak to them, they qualify well, or maybe not as well they would like. They make up a few spots in the heats, and then the pre-final or the final, they'd be spun around somewhere. So for Grayson, it's all about putting himself in better spots and really trying to turn the luck around for him in the second half of this year.
Yeah, and if Grayson could turn it around, so the same could be for this weekend and Alex Chandler and the 196. Just kind of up and down for that Iron Rock Motorsports Tony Kart just up the road here from Royce Vega. Now, he is not as good as Vega right now in this session. In fact, nobody's as good as Nico Katowski. How about it for the 192 J&M Racing Sodi Kart, actually, I believe, for Nico. Him and his brother Jack Katowski, I mean, they both are kind of on an island a bit. They've got some great help, but, a small team effort. I won't necessarily call it a privateer effort. I think that may not speak the best on the, really high amount of talent they've got helping the Katowski brothers run, but they're fun to pick out because they love to do different suits, different karts, and they have the most easily identifiable rig in the paddock. And you can see that Nico is sporting an all red, white, and blue back of the suit here, so he'll be fun to find in the 192. He's got the U-Race livery, but it's a Sodi kart for Nico Katowski, and right now that Sodi is fastest and just barely into the 49-second bracket, the only driver to do it. A 49.916 over Murad. So great start for Nico Katowski to put the orange and black and really that red, white, and blue suit as we look forward to the July 4th Independence Day weekend next week. A good bit of American pride here for Nico Katowski right now, going fastest at the end of this practice session and making a move there at the end. You saw him just quickly bail out of line to go by Aston Wyatt. So quick lap. And good speed and a lot of confidence, I think, for the 192.
Yeah, might have to give him RHR's nickname of Captain America. That suit, it's one of the coolest suits that I've seen in a while. So for Nico Katowski there, puts it P1 in happy hour in the mini Swift class. Jose Carlos Murad a 10th back in second, but it's a very tight field from second to about 6th or 7th place. A 10th separates those drivers there from Samet, Vega, John McKellen, Parker Ives, Tucker Tribe, Ashton Roon, Bergman, Benja Fernandez from Miami, Florida as well. Benja, another driver who's been very, very quick over at AMR, doing all the local races down there, making all the national races that he can this year. This is one of them, and he is showing to be pretty quick, 2.5 tenths back, about 100th behind the TKG driver of Josh Bergman. I spoke to him this morning. He said, listen, I don't really like the rain that much, so I hope it dries up. It dried up for Josh, and it put up P9.
Yeah, and definitely seemed confident putting it P9 as well. He was pretty consistent with multiple laps that would have put him well on the upper half of the field. On the other end of things, you look further down, it's 27 covered by a second, but some pretty hefty gaps once you get back around the 20s and really the early to mid-20s with drivers with pace needed to find. And unlike the first couple of groups where they could say that, well, maybe it was just because we were the first group to go out, not the second. That was all of them, the entire mini Swift class released and back in. And for Maxwell Macha and Aston Wyatt, two names that have been towards the front of the field this year, they've got some work to do going into qualifying. And there you saw at the end of the results, 31 drivers able to turn a lap, 31 on the list. So all of them did was Violet March on the Franklin Motorsports Merlin. She was able to continue, could not put that much pace together, ended a couple seconds off here at the end of Mini Swift's happy hour session. So now we'll go to the X30 Pro Juniors as they have lined the grid up, and a nearly 20 driver field. And unlike in the minis and the micros that were antsy to get out, they have all kind of waited towards the back of the grid, and then they're going to race right on by us as there goes Ty Fisher, who was fastest in the KA Junior group. Let's see if he can take some of that experience that he just picked up from the Badger Kart Club surface and put it to good use here in the faster of the two. And the other quick driver from that session was Enzo Vidmontien. He's trying to shake off some stragglers, some people on his tail that want to get a taste of the speed and where it's coming from. Alex Vanchev, Davin Roberts, and one more tailing him out. Might have been, actually, I'm not 100% sure who was the driver that was the last one on there. Might have been Levi Sangera on the 787, but we'll confirm.
Yeah, something interesting to note. This is one of the first classes that I've noticed, at least, a bit of gamesmanship being played. Obviously, it's only happy hour, but here in the X30 Pro Junior category, some drivers trying to get behind who they know is fast, maybe get a bit of a tow. So who knows? As much as you and I are looking at the racetrack and saying, you know what, a tow isn't that valuable, maybe the data says otherwise. We'll have to come and find out. There goes Chase Gassiet-Lee on the inside of Victor DeAlencar. Chase Gassiet-Lee has had a great year so far on board that Nash Motorsports OTK go-kart. He had his maiden win in the OKNJ class, and he is looking very quick. He obviously does a lot of driving down at AMR Motorplex, does a lot of testing with the Nash boys as well. So he has been very, very quick. The 713 machine behind him, Victor DeAlencar, had a strong start to the year in the Scusa Winter Series, did good in Orlando. Since then, though, the pace seemingly has dropped off slightly for Victor compared to his other teammates like Chico Brown, like Ardiles before he moved on to SCR. So for Victor DeAlencar now, he's one of the lead drivers in that junior package for RPG. So looking to represent there the 777 machine of DeAlencar as well, following Gassiet-Lee, who's kind of leaving him in the dust a little bit so far, as Gassiet-Lee is now caught back behind the likes of Jackson Wolney.
Yeah, Chase now catching up to Wolney, who just got around one more. That is Max Weiland and Tristan Murphy. Sorry, Murphy there, the young driver on the red, white, and blue Super Tune Tony Kart. Then Mad Max just in front of him as Chase is going to go by one. And there you can see that big move. That corner is just so tough to get through. And if you go and walk it, what was original smooth pavement 8 years ago or 7 years ago during the expansion project here at Badger Kart Club, and then of course a few years pretty recently after that, what came the Rhino liner over the surface. There is so much grip that the karts literally are slamming into the ground at points, and it has gotten become a rougher and rougher ride. And the club already starting to look and put some pennies aside towards another repave, just because of the brutal weather that's up here. Actually, I was talking with the SLA kart racing team, and they said there's been 2 tornado warnings over the week and a half that they've been up here in Dousman that have come near the racetrack. So heavy weather this far north is not a shocker to many that know the geography of the U.S., but any way you spin it, it doesn't, or any way that you justify it, I guess, doesn't make it any less fun to bounce through a hairpin corner that has a lot of grip, and you've got to basically hold that wheel on to survive it. Ty Fisher going by now as he has moved his way up to 7th on the boards. Tristan Murphy following, and Ty's got himself a little bit of separation to start this next lap, which could be really nice, as there's Victor DeAlencar going by on Mad Max just up the road.
Yeah, Ty Fisher, P1 in the KA Junior class, looking to do more of the same here in the X30 Pro Junior class. So far sits 7th, like you mentioned. There's a bit of a gap to Max Whalen now in front of him. Whalen starting to struggle for grip already. You see how quickly Ty Fisher comes up to the back of him. Making a move to the inside there is one of those corners, like you mentioned, if you go out there and walk it, your shoes will get stuck to the racetrack with how grippy it is down there. But you really can't open up to the corner too much, because if you're outside of that Rhino liner area, I know it's the whole corner, but the grip is developed on the inside of the corner. If you're too far outside, what happened to Max Whalen will happen to anybody, where all of a sudden you turn in and there's absolutely no grip for you. So for Ty Fisher, you almost want to turn in earlier when making a move. Trust that the kart's going to stick. You're going to accept the fact that it's going to two-wheel hop almost into the driver on your outside and make the move stick. So this track really providing a lot of passing opportunities, more than a lot of racetracks that we go to throughout the country. So I think it really is one of those really awesome racetracks. Wow, Gassiet-Lee starting to drop tires on the exit there, really exploring the boundaries of what is possible around Badger.
Now as the field works its way through the final couple hairpins, we will be looking to about maybe 3 or 4 more laps until this practice session comes to a close. and keeping a keen eye on if times get any better. Diego Ardiles on his SCR Red Speed debut of 49.905. That's 0.2 up on the entire pack. There's still plenty of passes being made. We just saw one there with Chase Gassey at Lee going by Victor De Alencar. And to go to your credit about talking earlier about maybe a bit of toe benefit or not, here's a look at Ardiles. He's all by himself. I think the bigger benefit is being able to judge gearing around other drivers. Like we've talked about, this is the first dry session of the entire day for all involved in each division. You're guessing on gear, you're guessing on setup. Someone might guess a bit different than you, and the only way to find out if you're better or worse on gearing on the racetrack is to literally get near someone, because if you're on the opposite ends, you might run the same lap time but have no idea where you're slower or where you're faster and what the differences lie. That's also, again, what's such a huge benefit of being able to have some teammates in the same division. And now Diego Ardiles has gone from one super team to what has now once again become a super team. Speed Concepts Racing with Sarah Bradley, with Jackson Wolney, with William Kim as well in the 755. That's a lot of fast junior drivers that they can really make the most of a single practice session and try different gears on each of them. And in this one practice before qualifying, download all the onboard GPS data, download the RPM data as well, compare all the times and say, all right, this is the gear that we need to be on. This was the best of our 4 chances. Where on the other end, Davin Roberts is, I believe, the only Ryan Perry Motorsport Tony Kart on the track. So he's got to try to learn everything by the seat of his pants when it comes to gearing. And, for the driver, for the help on the fence line, his dad, team owner Ryan Perry, they've got to get a good gauge just from the line of sight, because they're not going to be able to download the data of other drivers. They only have their one. So their one shot to see if their gear is close, if their setup is close, is doing exactly what Davin's doing right now, following Diego Ardiles after falling behind him and trying to pass the next few cars in line as well, like Alexander Vanchev there in the 706, who also does not have any help in this division. But he hasn't had that for a while. He's gone from the lone Zanella Racing driver to now the lone Sodi Racing USA driver here in X30 Junior.
Yeah, it's one of the toughest parts about being, if you're not a privateer, a lone star underneath a team, underneath a camp, as one of the RPG drivers goes off there. It's a 763.
Fernando Zapata going around there.
He's been struggling for a bit of pace here throughout the happy hour session, trying to find some grip, trying to find the setup that he'd like so far, but able to get that kart staying running. But I was going to mention, being the lone ranger underneath a team, whether it's a big team or a small team, it's difficult in general, but especially in a scenario like this where you're guessing on setups. That's where the advantage really starts to play in for the likes of Ardiles, for Wolney, Bradley, and Kim, and others on board big teams, even for Chico Brown as well. He sits in second right now, 1,400th off this former teammate, Diego Ardiles. Those two have put on incredible battles all year long. They did it at NCC. They are most likely going to do it again here in Wisconsin. There's Wolney in third. Vidmontien, his lap time still looking good so far. He's been alone all session long in that TKG Car Republic. What I've noticed in every single happy hour session that's really cool to see, actually, not only the field spread, but the team spread that we've seen. And actually, I'd say in the X30 Junior class, it's the most, abundance of teams, right? We have Speed Concepts, RPG, another speed racing driver, TKG, then it's Nash, RPM, Sodi, back to RPG. We have some Super Tune drivers in here. It is awesome to see the amount of different teams that can kind of take up a top 10, a top 15 in the class.
Yeah, a different story from what we saw just literally 2 weeks ago in Cincinnati, where it was an RPG 1, 2, 3, 4 at points. But, of course, one of those 4 was the kid on screen there in Diego Ardiles. And I stand I need to owe the RPM group an apology for forgetting about Michael McGoy. So they aren't alone with Davin Roberts. As you mentioned, they've got 2 drivers now in the top 10, Roberts and McGoy, and both of them right around each other. And that's, partly why you see on lap times teams end up with so many drivers close, because they go with similar setups. I wouldn't, maybe there is some differences there from Davin Roberts to Michael McGoy, but the way it's shaken out, they're almost identical. On the other end, you've got a pretty wide spread of SCR, like you said, wide spread of the RPG drivers as well, with Chico there in second, and then a big gap to De Alencar, who's 4.5, nearly 5/10 back, and then further down the boards to David Ramirez and then Fernando Zapata. Really, the closest pairing is Jackson Wolney and Diego Ardiles, and maybe that'll be the new power duo. Instead of Diego Ardiles and Turner Brown, it's Jackson Wolney and Diego Ardiles. But Michael McGoy would love to continue his junior season, his very impressive junior season at that. It's already got a major 125 win with another run of the like here this weekend. He's dropped to 10th, and the checkers have now flown with a handful of drivers already bailing for that pit lane early, and just keeping an eye on our Kart Chaser Pride powered by AKR umbrella at the back half of the screen here. The wind is definitely picking up a little bit in this afternoon session. So as we approach qualifying, that's another thing to note of what that may do to the racetrack. More than anything, it'll continue to cool the tires and keep the track surface cool, I think. You know, we've touched on the fact that the toe won't matter all that much on any straightaway you try to look at. So I don't think that's going to play a factor, but definitely a very breezy afternoon after a very wet and wild morning for the first day of action here from Badger Kart Club in Dousman. And just like that, we are now just 2 classes away from qualifying. KA Masters are on deck, X30 Pro Senior to follow, and then we will go straight on into micros of qualifying. So with the X30 Juniors making their way over and into the scale line, we'll take another moment for one more break away during practice, and then 2 sessions when we return. KA Masters about to be released, and X30 Pro Senior will follow before it's time to set the grids for 3 rounds of heat racing on Saturday and the path to our main event lineups on Sunday.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental U.S.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
I'm David Serra, 18-time Australian karting champion, and we're launching Kart Class. Kart Class is an advanced digital training program that suits a driver who's just starting out in the sport, all the way to the driver looking to win a national championship. In this program, you're going to be learning about how to find the ideal racing line and what an apex is, braking and throttle markers, wet weather racing lines, and how to overtake other competitors. We target how to brake in the wet weather, and we look on the mental side of kart racing as well with our mental skills coach. At the completion of this program, you'll be lighting up purple sectors in qualifying, know when to defend on the opening laps, and how to pressure your opposition into mistakes. We teach you the tools to be resilient and how to get in the right frame of mind before a race. We look to complete the whole package by getting a strong mindset, a driving style to suit all conditions, strategizing your race, and getting the last 1% from your team. We'll teach you how to win the final lap of a race, driving the wet like Max Verstappen, and creating the perfect bubble for yourself to mentally be in the zone. To find out more, click the link below.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com.
Welcome. Welcome back to the USPKS Wisconsin Grand Prix here at Millwright Raceway. This is the KA100 Masters category. 2 classes to go before qualifying as K100 Masters. And then we have the X30 Pro Senior category ready for their happy hour in about 10 laps time here. But for the K Masters drivers, Martin Stone on board the RPG Cosmic, he leads your K Masters happy hour 3 laps into this one, 400th ahead of Nicky Coelho. That being said, down on the grid, we have Diego Ardiles standing by there, Xander.
Yeah, Diego, let's pass it on down to you, buddy. This is our first chance catching up with you, and you look a little bit different. Red, white, and black seems to suit you. You were fast in that session. Jackson was also. How's the first 2 days been with Speed Concepts Racing?
The first 2 days have been amazing. We tested last week. I'm very happy with the team and very happy with the results.
Now, talk about that last session. Did you guys, were you able to kind of go out on different setups yourself, Jackson, Sarah, William, and try some different things? Because this is your first and only run at a dry racetrack today before you qualify on what should be potentially dry racetrack as well.
No, we tested last week. We just tried to go out together to see where we can improve, like teamwork. And yeah, I got a good lap and went first.
Now, Diego, along with SCR and Red Speed being new, it's new teammates for you as well, not just new, team owners and coaches and everything else of the like. So how do you and Jackson get along? Are you guys going to be able to work together, you think? And has it been all good things between yourself and Jackson and Sarah under the tent?
Yeah, for sure. For me, that is one of the most important things, because when you work together, it's just like so much easier to improve to the whole team. So we're always working together, and it's not the first time he's my teammate, because last year we were teammates in RPG, but now we're in Speed.
Well, it seems like a good reunion so far for the both of you, first and third in that last session. Nice work, Diego. We'll let you get ready for that K Junior Qualifying coming up.
Thank you.
All right, there you have it from Diego Ardiles. Let's go back and check in here with happy hour for K100 Masters. Martin Stone, 47.975 quickest. Wes Steeds, though, on the racetrack. He's the captain of the Cheesehead Challenge and the kind of Tag Masters divisional series that runs as a part of the club racing scene here in Wisconsin. They are a huge reason as to why we've gotten 12K Masters, a class that is kind of hit or miss when it comes to national events, that there have been so many drivers, veterans, that have come back or jumped into the stable of the sport in this 100cc category. I mean, they're averaging 20 plus here for their club and divisional events, and a big part of that is Wes and the Cheesehead Challenge and the Tag Masters Championship, trying to get more and more drivers involved on a schedule that they can, realistically make. Maybe not every single club event, but it kind of operates like the World of Outlaws, where this is a specific Tag Masters Cheesehead Challenge race, or just Tag Masters Championship race between this club here at Badger Kart Club and Road America a couple hours away. And that has spurred a lot of growth that has kind of, again, helped join the national contenders that have made the trek up to Dousman to make our 12-car field. And while the national contenders have the upper head right now in the form of Martin Stone representing the local contingent, Scott Kopp works and lives not too far down the road from here. Nicky Coelho, TJ Nevels, any of those Franklin Motorsports drivers there, including Wes himself, getting into the top 10, are repping the BKC here this weekend. But they're all still chasing, by now, 2/10 the RPG 401 plate of Martin Stone.
I gotta say, Xander, what a story for the driver who sits in 6th right now, 2.5 tenths back. That's Mario Barrios, the 411, the RPG Cosmic driver. I mean, for those of you who don't remember, in Orlando, had a very scary accident through the final S's of the racetrack, up and over. I can't even name all the injuries, but I mean, broken collarbone, punctured lung, cracked ribs, you name it, he had it. He's back in the seats. I mean, not even, 3.5 months later. The one thing, he can't pick up his own go-kart, can't get out or inside the go-karts. People have to help him with that. But in terms of the driving, he can do that all on his own. So good to see him back out on the racetrack so soon.
Yeah, and as he crosses the line here, he's pulling off to the wayside right now. Don't know if he's trying to find a better piece of real estate or what. I will say, chatting with Mario, saying it was good to see him back when I ran across him yesterday. I asked him how he was feeling. He said, 60%. So he's not exactly back to the full Mario Barrios that we've come to know and see over the last few years. But he's here, he's able to drive, and he's going to drive and try and make it through the entire weekend. Best of luck to him, and that's why it makes it all the more impressive hearing him say that he's still not fully recovered to be 6th right now here in final practice and only 2.5 tenths off. This is probably one of the closer KA Masters fields lap time-wise we've seen in a little while. I mean, especially if you take Martin Stone's current best lap of a 47.82 away, put him back at that 47.9, you're talking about 2 tenths to go from the quickest guy down to West Steege in 7th. And then even then, Miguel Mir, who we undoubtedly expect to kind of pick up some more speed. He's on that Orsilon Racing Tony Kart. Junaid Dean as well, picking up some time and only a handful of national starts for himself and his son Ibrahim, who's running in KA Senior. They're down in 8th and 10th. We've seen them get some good laps together. Christian Vomier knows this racetrack well. He's teammates with Laurentius Mardan, but Christian has been busy this year, hasn't been able to get out and race as much. He'll probably progress a lot through the weekend. So I think, while granted we've only got 12 of them, this could actually be a pretty consistent, big moment there for Junaid there in the back hairpin, Alex.
Yeah, started the two-wheel on him, so he actually turned out of it, and that's why he got all of a sudden went straight off and almost into the grass. So, like I mentioned earlier, when you start the two-wheel, it's almost better to add some wheel than to turn out of it, because then you'll start facing the wrong direction. So for Dean there, good to keep it on the racetrack, but it's just that easy on the Rhino liner to start two-wheeling. We saw it with Barrios in front of him, how much he's been hopping as well. A lot of these Masters guys really struggling out there. This is one of those, probably might be the toughest class in terms of trying to find the setup, because not many drivers have a teammate. We have Stone and Barrios out there who are probably switching setups. We have some of the techno guys out there with Mardan, Vermeer, and Isaac. And then we have a bunch of the Franklin guys there making up 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and I believe 7th there as well with West Steege there. So 3/10 separates your top 7. Checker flag is out. Nobody has been able to improve on their best lap since about lap 8 there for Martin Stone. Many drivers are starting to fall off the pace. Some have actually pulled in early. Scott Kopp pulled in early. TJ Neville's pulled in early. I believe Unai Dean pulled in early after that moment in turn number 12 as well. So many drivers said, you know what, we're going to make this a shorter happy hour session for us. We're going to pull in. Checker flag is out. Martin Stone, he's your fastest in the happy hour. 2/10 over Scott Kopp. And then, like you mentioned, from 2nd to 7th, it's just over a 10th.
Yeah, very, very close from P2 back to P7. And that could all change up quite a bit now that they've got one full dry track session in the books. And speaking of in the books, we're almost completely done with happy hour and practice in general for this weekend. Qualifying will roll on after this final group rolls off the grid, and it is none other than the X30 Pro Senior. So Nash Motorsports K100 Masters in the books, and the RPG Cosmic of Martin Stone, his debut with Ralston Performance Group. Bit of a switch of flavor and colors for him. Fast, and we've got plenty more that have switched up. How about Harley Keeble? It is his debut with the Inter MS Pink and Chrome team, and he lines up alongside Alessandro D'Attulio for the first of many races they will have together this year as teammates. They've become good friends off the racetrack, and now this weekend, the first weekend, they get to spend the entire 4-day stretch, really 5 days if you count setup day together, and they already had that Millwright shootout under their belt, and these two have been almost inseparable, it feels like, in the practice sessions, just kind of running around with each other, running behind them as well. ZCD, Zach Clayman DeMello, he's running on an EOS kart under the Bennick tent this weekend, so we'll wait to see how he fares. We did watch him win just one weekend ago at the Rotax Trophy East opener at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. It was initially taken away in post-race penalties after a protest and appeal process was completed. The penalty was revoked, and Zachary Clayman DeMello has been reinstated as the race winner from round 1 of the Rotax Max Trophy East Championship. And so he's hoping to try and make it 2 wins in 2 weeks as he goes by on Hartley here to start this session in the 363 Team Bennick EOS kart there.
Look at this, the 2 Host development drivers there, Tulecki and Feldstein. A couple karts back, that was Josh Holtz as well. There's Keeble. He's starting to fall back quite early in this one. Tire pressure's not to his liking early on in this session, or really just trying to find some open lapping. Speaking of which, Tullio has an open air in front of him, but behind him, ZCD looks racy early on. Tullio's going to let him by, so ZCD is going to lead this group to the green flag in happy hour. Tullio was very quick this morning. He tends to understate things, but he was quick. I mean, throughout the practices, always from the top 3. He was quickest in second practice, third practice went to Norberg. He was really quick in the rain, but for Tullio, he has that inter-MS car public dialed in. Keeble still has to figure out a few things on the go-kart as Feldstein has spun around there in the middle section of the racetrack. That's a bit unlike the hometown kid there.
Yeah, an uncharacteristic mistake from Alex Feldstein going into the hairpin, as it's known. That's the tightest corner on the racetrack, really. Turn number 4, I think, on the official track layout, track map. But let's watch it here. The first lap in, and well, it's the original Wisconsin Wonder Kid from the last 10 years on the national scene. Brandon Lemke has been a major player from really going even further back, probably market at 15 through his initial runs in cadet, to then really what broke him out as a household name in North American karting, going head-to-head against David Malukas, now NTT IndyCar Series driver from Meyer Shank Racing, Zach Holden, who also made his run through the Mazda road to Indy and then eventually made a handful of returns to the karting scene before having to step back and continue building his family's business. Brandon does the same thing with his father, but thankfully we've got Jamie Saraki and Franklin Motorsports continuously saying, Brandon, we need you still driving a go-kart at the highest level. And for the last few years, it's been a 100cc competition exclusively. This year, X30 Pro. And in talking with Jamie and a little bit with Brandon at the beginning of the year, the expectation was that it was going to take a couple weekends. Even though Brandon is a former champion in this pro division dating back to 2015, they did not expect, 2016, I should say. They did not expect it to come easy. It is still a major step up from the 100cc class, whether you're racing the same drivers that pull double duty like this weekend with Alex Feldstein and Nick Terlecki. It's just different. And everyone in this group, pretty much goes back and is one of the driver coaches, if not in their tent this weekend, at their home racetrack, at their home club for a number of different shops. Austin Garrison is a real big name and notable one of that spends his time, his living, comes from working as a driver development coach in the sport of karting. So they did not expect to be quick off the bat, but then by literally race number 2 on the calendar, he was provisionally for about 5 minutes the winner. Ended up second, then looked like was going to have a penalty to the race winner, Joe Turney, back at Trackhouse Motorplex for round 2. Then ended up back down to second after the penalty was appealed. But we go to this track. Brandon Lemke is someone that you got to mark as someone to be quick. And, that I think was a driver that everyone pegged to be the one to beat that Millwright shootout winner and win the $5,000. Austin Garrison was leading that shootout last weekend, Alex, and the motor let go. A lower end bearing failure for Austin Garrison took him away from $5,000 on the X30 Pro main. And sadly, a miscue on parts of K8 X30 parts in the motor that was a minimal, fractional, kind of marginal difference, took away his win in the K shootout. And from hero to zero, looks at potentially getting $10,000, ended up with zero by the end of that shootout.
Yeah, ironically, the driver that ended up winning that race was one that also experienced a bit of an engine failure at MCC in the SCUSA Pro Tour. Ryan Norberg, he leads now this happy hour session by almost 0.2 of a second over Austin Garrison. So the drivers that were sitting 1-2 in that money race before Garrison's motor went sit 1-2 the opposite way now in happy hour. Third goes to Alex Feldstein, even after the mistake. Maybe had a bit of help in that spin. We won't really know, but nonetheless, sits third. Donovan Bonilla, he sits fourth on board the RPG Cosmic. Then Lemke on board the Franklin Motorsports Merlin. He's in fifth, the hometown kid. Looking for a little bit more pace. I'm sure we talked about this one. If it stays this way, he won't really be happy with about 3.5 tenths to find in this session, as Garrison now tops the timing board. It's a 3:29 speed concepts driver. He goes to the top, but Norberg's going to take it right back, a 45 flat. The times should continue to fall slightly compared to what we saw last week towards the end of the money race once the rain started to die down. But for the number 1 plate, Ryan Norberg, he has been quick since about practice 2, practice 3 today. He figured it out when the rain came down, and now as the track has started to dry and the grip has been laid down, he still has it all figured out.
Yeah, Norberg, Garrison, Feldstein, and Norberg and Garrison 3/10 on the field. We followed Paulie Massimino there earlier on in this session for a minute. He's actually struggling. The 308 enters this weekend with a decent position in the point standings, but 14th and nearly 9/10 off the top two drivers. Let's see if Garrison and Norberg go even quicker this time by. They will not. Both of them going to stay at their previous best, a 45.05, with time still continuing to change behind them. Harley Keeble splitting up Feldstein and DeMello. He'll move within 4/10 as he takes his Inter-MS Kart Republic to 4th. ADT a 10th off of his new teammate back in the 8th spot. Brandon Carr is 9th. Here's Dono, the SCUSA Supernats champ from 2023. And the kid that's already got a win on this year. Bonilla 4.5 off the pace of his teammate right now. And how about a big shakeup? Big lap from ZCD and from ADT that time by. Zachary Clayman DeMello, Alessandro DeTulio, both of them jumping their way into the top 5. Let's see if the rest of the field answers back. Here comes Bonilla and Eli Warren behind him on the all-black War Power Racing Red Speed. Bonilla will not improve. Warren does. He'll go to 11th.
The one driver that I'm looking at and a little bit surprised by the pace, or a bit of lack thereof, should I say, is the driver sitting in 14th right now, Quentin McPherson. He is about 7/10 back from his teammate Ryan Norberg there, and then his other teammate Donovan Bonilla sits 7th. So right now, the third quickest RPG Cosmic in the field, but that puts him 14th. He was really quick this morning when the rain came down in practice 1, practice 2. Now that the track started to really grip up, so that pace has started to go. Obviously, it's hard to compare practices to happy hour, especially with a much different racetrack than what we had this morning, and even compared to yesterday. So for McPherson, I'm sure this is not the last that we'll see of him in terms of his pace, but so far in the happy hour, he needs about 7/10 to find.
Yeah, he's looking over there. You saw him look over at his right rear side of the go-kart. I don't know if that was towards the engine or the tire, or what could be also as well, that sprocket guard looked to be a little bit close, or the chain guard a bit sideways. Maybe that's rubbing against the rear sprocket, but whatever might be the issue for Quentin McPherson this time, 14th, 7/10 off, like you said, needs to find a little more as he follows Henry Lepard. The one good news for both drivers there is their teammate, who will get to find the data from and get a whole lot of coaching from, Ryan Norberg, is still the fastest as we close to the last couple laps of this session. I believe one, if not two, of the major players have already bailed and headed for pit lane. But another lap in for Lepard, another one for McPherson. No change, nothing better that time by. They stay in 14th and 16th.
Yeah, but there's change at the top so far. It looks as though, I believe, my timing says Garrison now is top the timing boards, but it looks like Ryan Norberg still is ahead of Garrison right now, and then ZCD, then DeTulio, Feldstein, Keeble, Terlecki. So not much change so far since the laps have been tumbling down. ZCD is going to fall down one spot there to, I believe, 4th place. As the timing, I think, has started to...
yeah, it took a minute to reset. Our program had paused for a moment. We've got it reset now. That will populate when they cross the line this time on the broadcast side. So let's see the rest of the group cycle by, and who else will trade spots up there, as it looks like Brandon Carr, still 11th showing for him, but like you said, a bit of a change at the top, ultimate top, in X30 Pro Senior, with Austin Garrison now going back over Ryan Norberg as the best time, or at least looked like it might have been. Norberg, Garrison, DeTulio, ZCD, DeMello 4th. So there it is, yeah. Now we've got it back up and running again.
DeTulio is the one that eclipsed ZCD down the 4th. So good final lap there for the Inter-MS driver, Alejandro DeTulio. He puts himself with about a 10th and a half of the number 1 plate of Ryan Norberg. Checker flag comes out. Does anybody have anything to say here towards the end? We'll have to wait and see. For DeTulio's teammate, Harley Keeble, he needs to find about a 10th and a half to get to his teammate, and then 3/10 up to that top spot. So for Keeble, still a little bit off the pace in terms of what he would have expected, but with a new chassis, obviously having to figure out, a new team to have to, kind of learn and figure out, I think he'll take a P6 finish so far in this happy hour.
And then all the way down to the end, Lepard and then Mingnan Zhu complete the X30 Pro Senior final practice. We will return with qualifying, folks. It is just about time to set our grid, so practice complete, at least pre-race weekend practice from the Badger State Grand Prix. and Badger Kart Club hosting the U.S. Pro Kart Series for the first time in more than 11 years. The first year of the U.S. Pro Kart Series came here in 2013. We're back again in Dousman, Wisconsin in 2024 at one of the most historic racetracks still operating here in all of North American karting. We'll be back with qualifying.
Maryland USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com.
So the first group underway here for Micro Swift, presented by Team Ferris Racing. Jaden Francisco, the initial quickest, but we are still expecting times to get better as the session goes on. Part of that happens just because the sessions are so long. At the same time, it's also because the track is continuing to develop. So as we get towards the end of Group 1 of 2 here for Micro Swift qualifying, let's also go and hear from Austin Garrison, who was quick at the end of the X30 Pro Senior practice here to lead into qualifying. Austin, going down to you. You were fast last weekend. I won't try and dig into that wound anymore. I know that you would have loved to get a win, but at the same time, you are in a championship hunt. It has been a little while since you have had the honor to say that you are a U.S. national champion in a series, and you've got a real good shot here in the U.S. Pro Kart Series. So how good is it to have momentum and speed here this weekend?
Yeah, no, our speed's it's really great. You know, last weekend we were super fast, and you know, going into this weekend we're having a pace that's all up in top 3 every session. To be going into this race leading the championship standings, you know, I'm pretty excited. You know, we got to have really good results in all the heat races and obviously the main event, because you know you have one bad race and next thing you know you'll drop down the list and it's really hard to climb back up.
Now, that said, the one good and the bad part, I guess, about, you know, in your case being the championship leader with a lighter turnout is, you know, you're not going to go back and get a 40th place result if you do have a bad session here. But there are no drops. So you're kind of keeping a gauge on, I imagine, Ryan. I imagine the rest of the field. You both were close in that session, you probably aren't going to be able to rely on, pack battling because there's just not that many guys here. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think when we start racing here, we're all kind of going to be like spaced out. I don't really see too much of, blocking and having a group of like 6 or 7 guys just going at it the whole entire time. I really don't think it's going to be like that. Me and Ryan have been super quick. I think it's just kind of going to be spread out this weekend in a way, which that's what I kind of go and think.
Well, at least it makes it a little bit easier because then you don't have to do as crazy moves. That kind of definitely plays into your book of trying to just bring, safe, high percentage passes in if the field's spread out versus crazy battles where you're not in control of your own destiny. So I'm sure that's welcomed. Good to see some pace out of you. Good to see a smile on your face as well. Wish you best of luck in qualifying, Austin.
All right, thank you so much.
There you go from Austin Garrison. Quick here to end practice in X30 Pro. The first group is just coming by in Micro Swift. These are the bottom half from final practice. Jaden Francisco on the Ryan Perry Motorsport Nitro Kart. Quickest at the end of the session. Although we're still waiting on more times to go by. That's Leo Simone on the Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic looking pretty good as well.
Yeah, Leo Simone, he's been quick. He's another AMR local there. Got a great maiden victory down there at the club race a week ago. Had the Toyo coaching him. Now sits second so far in the slow group in qualifying, but still a P2 there. I mean, it pretty much guarantees you almost a top half starting position once the fast group is out there. So good job for the TKD driver there. Checker flag is out. So for Jaden Francisco, he put 4/10 on the field so far in qualifying. Leo Simone second. Then it's Luca Besseril in third. Lawrence Perriman. I think we would expect a little bit more pace out of Perriman there, but a 4th place is still pretty solid so far with the fast group still to come. And then it's Nico Salazar. He sits 5th right now. That is still the B group. Here comes the A group getting ready to roll out. And there's the 55 machine of Zane Burgess getting ready to roll them out onto the racetrack.
Yeah, Zane versus Miguel so far has been the story of this U.S. Pro Kart Series season when it pertains to Micro Swift. But there are plenty of other players ready to make a name for themselves here this weekend. How about the likes of the 38 of AEM Karting's own Easton Kubinski, 4th fastest in final practice earlier this afternoon. He's been quick, getting some podiums, knocking on the door of a major race win. And here at a racetrack that he's got a little experience at, I believe, hopefully could parlay that into some major performances, as there is Steve the Gridman trying to space them out, keep them all apart, keep them from driving into each other and over each other here while they slowly get released for qualifying. And the time to beat, a 50.731 by Jaden. For Jaden to have 4/10 on Leo Simone and Simone also to have 3/10 on the rest of the pack is hopeful. It's optimistic that the rest of the field is going to blend in the middle of those gaps, whereas Luca Becquerel, Lawrence Perriman, especially like you said, being so close to the rest of the field means that you expect you're probably not much better than the slow group, and you anticipate the fast group with kids like the 55 Sodi entry to be a lot faster. So we won't know exactly where they all land until they get back by the line, but it'll be 5 laps once again on the charts for everyone to hit the stripe at full speed. Here comes Zane to start lap number 1 through the dogleg, and Miguel Suarez trying to chase him down there in the purple and pink behind.
Yeah, something we didn't mention, of all the classes, the Micro Swift category is the one class that is probably the most blind going into qualifying. Looking at the lap times in happy hour, 51.1 was what Zane Burgess did to go P1 by half a second. The quickest lap time in the slow group in qualifying just now was a 50.7. So that would have put Jaden Francisco P1 in happy hour by 4/10. So for the likes of Zane Burgess and this entire fast group in qualifying, they're blind going into this one because Burgess is, as far as he's concerned, a couple tenths off what Francisco did, and the other drivers are even more off. So I still think it's a bit of a natural progression, right? So for Burgess, I expect him to still be up towards the top, but there was still a bit of water on the racetrack during the happy hour, not a whole lot, but a bit. So now, as the first lap is done and dusted, where does it put Zane Burgess? Straight to the top. Oh, now P2 because Miguel Suarez goes P1. So for Jaden Francisco, he holds on to 3rd as it stands so far. But if lap 1 is already at 50.6, who knows how fast they can get to. The 26 machine has a small toe behind Zane Burgess. Not going to do a whole lot around this place, but I think that is the perfect distance. If you're a driver behind the likes of Zane Burgess who knows how quick he is around this place, it's a great distance to beat. You're not going to get much dirty weight because it doesn't exist here in the Micro Swift category, but you have just enough of a distance to get a small baby toe that might give you that small advantage that you need when you're going against the Sody Kart driver of Zane Burgess.
Yeah, and there's, again, something to be said for sure of having a rabbit to chase up the road, someone to be the benchmark, someone to give you a reason to push more. Like you said, Alex, that's a great point, how blind these young kids were going into this session, how blind the tuners and parents, I'm sure, were as well, of trying to get the right gauge of what gear, what chassis setup, how much grip to put in the karts, because it's obviously changed a lot and gone back to similar conditions from what they practiced in yesterday. So to have someone in front of you kind of leading the way, being the flashlight in the dark, watching where they're braking, where they're accelerating, how their pace is looking, all of that is super, super beneficial when you are going into a track condition that you haven't yet experienced or is drastically different from the last time that you went onto the circuit. So that's what I think Miguel Suarez is benefiting from a little bit here, is the fact that no one really knows how fast this track could be, but Zane Burgess is quick. He knows how to get around decently well in general, and for Zane to be the first one in front, or the one in front of him, means that if he can go a tick better than Zane, he might be the best overall, and that's why he was, for a moment, the best overall. Victor Gusto, Wondurl, and the rest of the pack are all trying to chase him down, going down the entire 32 driver list of Micro Swift drivers, and we're waiting for the times to populate back onto the screen here in a moment so you can see exactly where your favorite currently stands. Here's a look at it. Miguel Suarez, top of the heap, 50.451. Burgess down at 800ths back, and still holding on strong is Jaden Francisco. Again, exactly what is happening right now is what he hoped would happen. He knew that he may get beat by a couple, but at least most of the pack has kind of split around him and behind him. As another big lap for both Burgess and Suarez there at the line. Suarez able to quickly answer, and they've got one to go, so still one more lap remains. Here is the 25 of Win Godshock and Easton Kubinski running together. They are 8th and 9th. Big ways back for the entire field. I mean, this is Suarez versus Burgess right now. Jake Manalio moving up to 3rd. He's best of the rest, 2/10 back.
Yeah, Manalio had a great performance earlier on in the year at the Stars race over in Charlotte, looking to carry over the pace that we saw there, sits P3. Francisco, like you mentioned, sits 4th. That lap is holding on. This is great news for some drivers who sit in the slow group throughout this qualifying session, that it is indeed possible to come out of the slow group on top, or at least inside the top 5, top 10, because this is a track that doesn't really rely on the toe that much. Speaking of toe, here comes Kaminsky to the line. Checker flag is out. He might get a decent run on Win Godshock. Last lap in the books, and Kaminsky makes it count. Puts it 5th. Win Godshock improves up to 7th, but they need to find a lot of lap time in the heat races tomorrow to be happy with that one. So far, still Burgess holding on. Wow, what a lap for Zane Burgess. 3/10 ahead of Miguel Suarez. Manalio there resets his personal best, 5/10 back. And then Santi Orioli on his final lap, the MPD driver, he's also half second back, but he puts himself in 4th. Jaden Francisco looks like he's going to hold on to a top 5 qualifying spot from the slow group.
Yeah, and that was a really slow session up until that last lap for Santiago Orioli. Still only his 2nd race back from a broken arm, and had a scary moment in the first race back where it looked like he might have another broken bone with a crazy run to the line in Cincinnati. But Suarez versus Burgess, it looked like it was tipping the scales in the favor of the RPG Cosmic driver, but Miguel, something on that last lap just did not go right, and where he and Zane were kind of in lockstep, continuously improving and resetting their pace, Miguel did not, Zane did, and that's where that delta ends up now. Let's go back down to the rest of the pack here. Still pretty close up until about the mid-teens, then it started to spread out a little, but that was only 32 drivers, so the delta is going to open past the top 20. K.A. Junior is split from what we can tell in 3 groups to head on to the racetrack. So that is, again, the bottom 3rd, the middle 3rd, and the top 3rd from Happy Hour. And we can see Tristan Murphy there on the left side, one of the Orsilon Racing Tony Karts on the inside, and Luke Tall back there on the 850 Sody. We'll get you a full list of who is coming your way here in qualifying for K.A. Junior in a moment, as they do have C, B, and A listed as the 3 groups versus just B and A for 2 groups. Let's take a look back and confirm that here, Alex, from their happy hour session. If they did split them not down the middle, but into thirds, and that does look right. It looks like it's split right at Juan Paramo in 29th, or 30th, sorry, and Tristan Murphy in 31st. So that means that this group from 30th all the way back to 43rd, and it is going to feature at least 1, potentially 2 very fast drivers. Martin Jaramillo, we saw in that practice, crash out without getting a lap in. Travis Pettit also out of that session. But in his case, it was a DQ in post-race tech, or post-session tech. Diego Ardiles had an issue in tech also in happy hour. Ardiles lost a fast lap for a tech infraction, and Travis Pettit was disqualified. And that could have been something as simple as being underweight. May not have been anything malicious. There still could have been a lot of other tech infractions that could have DQ'd Travis Pettit. But while the group is released, wait until the very last cart is sent onto the racetrack. It will be that lime, green, and white TB cart, the 828 of Travis Pettit. He's going to he'll probably take his time on the outlap to make sure he doesn't run up to the back of this group, knowing that he was significantly faster than most of them through the practice session. However big of a gap he can make right now is going to be what he needs to do to try and put some space between himself and the group, and hopefully have the middle group and maybe some of the fast group even slot in between. As the 814 is slowing. That's Jude Thermolaswamy waiting to drop back as a few more past the 814 Kart Republic.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an issue or just trying to get some clear lap time here for Thermolaswamy. We'll have to wait and see when he rolls around towards the pit entry if he actually takes it or actually rolls around to take the green flag here in qualifying. Here's a couple other drivers, one of the Super Tunes in the RRC camp there. AMR locals, the RRC camp, they're starting to make their way into the national scene. I know next year they're really planning on it, and there it is. Thermolaswamy is slowing down towards the final corner of the racetrack, but maybe found some bit of power in that K Junior motor. He's going to take turn number 1 here, and he's actually going to go for a lap. So I don't think there was really anything wrong with that kart, but his hand was in the air for quite some time. So refound some pace on board the 814 TKG Kart Republic, and he's underway here to take his first of 5 qualifying laps. As lap 1 in the books, so far it's Chaz Virile who takes the top spot ahead of Tristan Murphy, but a lot of drivers still haven't crossed the stripe to take that first lap and see where they kind of stand compared to everybody else. Murphy sits second right now, the likes of Luke Tall in 6th. So far, Travis Pettit has not crossed the stripe yet to take his lap. There's Martin Hemmerio. He sits 7th. The one thing with Hemmerio, we expect him to be quick, but he lost his happy hour session after spinning at the end of lap number 1. So he really is also going in ultra blind in the session because all he's known all day long is what it's like to drive in the rain. He really doesn't know what the grip levels are like out there and what setup to really throw at his U-Race OTK go-kart. But for Travis Pettit, he goes P1, not for long though. Giovanni D'Antonio, he retakes that top spot here in Group 1 of 3 in K Junior.
Yeah, and they're going to change a bit further back. There's a big lap from Mateo Calderon on the Super Tune Tony Kart. He'll jump to 4th. But Chaz Varial, initially quickest. We're still waiting for Travis Pettit to pick up a little more, as he'll be one of the last ones to cross. So his first lap puts him 3rd still, as the second lap is complete for these kids. And I believe he did get that second lap in as well, so still a bit off. Flashing yellow lights. Is that it? No, here's Travis now. So there he is. Late run to the line there for both him and Jude Thermolaswamy. Big gap for the pair. Pettit goes back to the top, 47.972 at the end of the second lap at speed. So Travis now a half-second lead, or half-second gap over Chaz Varial once again. But 2 laps in, 3 laps to go for the first of the 3 groups. We go back, like you said, Alex, to happy hour, and we don't really learn that much. Just because, again, the quick times that were given in happy hour were on a still somewhat drying racetrack. Ty Fisher did a 47.614. I'm not saying Travis Pettit's second lap is bad, but a 47.9 being this good early means we're probably going to see high 46s, maybe the low 47s to be the time that you need to hit to put it on the pole. Although that lap Didn't update there for us for a moment, so we'll get our timing stuff sorted here.
Pettit puts a 47.706 on the board. Times continue to tumble. I think you're right about the low 47s. I think a high 46 is stretching it because that's getting into the KA senior category more, but a low 47 is definitely doable for Pettit. He's still dropping about 2/10 a lap here and up on the wheel. He's got a bit of a toe on, I can't really get a good view on the driver in front of him. That is Thirumalaswamy, I think, in front of him. So this might actually work out really nicely for Pettit. If it doesn't get in his way in the last corner here, he might get a small toe towards the front straightaway here as lap 4 is about to be in the books here. White flag in the air. Travis Pettit, what does it say across the line for him? No improvement, another 47.7. So either tires starting to fall away or a bit of traffic affecting him more than we would have thought. So for the TB Kart driver, Travis Pettit needs to find a little bit more pace in this last lap to really feel comfortable to probably put himself in the top 10 position. Behind him, it's going to be Chaz Varel. He sits second, but about 6/10 back. So like we mentioned in the Microswift qualifying about 10 minutes ago, to have that much of a gap between first and second, Pettit's safely inside the top 10, 15. The other drivers are not that safe. It's a great lap there for Hector Iturraiga. He puts himself P2, a 48.1. Chaz Varel still sits in third. Mateo Calderon fourth. Martin Hamarillo, a personal best on the final lap of 48.278. As there goes Travis Pettit crossing the line. No improvement, so his best lap is lap 3. So I'd say for Pettit, he's probably going to be a bit disappointed that his best lap came so early on in qualifying. Bit held up in traffic, but for Travis Pettit, again, after the DQ, he'll take anything he can get in qualifying. So a 47.7 is the time that everybody else in Group B is all having to chase.
Yeah, and it was already within a 10th of the fastest at happy hour. Who knows what'll be the time that we really need to chase by to get the pole here in qualifying. The middle group ready to go. Nathan Golset there on the Arcane Motorsports 826. Cash Perkins on the Speed Concepts Racing LN Kart as well on the outside. And here we are with the engines firing up and getting ready to roll for the middle third. So this is around probably 15th to 30th or so, as we've got 14 that turned to time there. So maybe it's back at 16th or 17th onwards to the middle section of this 40-plus driver KA100 Junior Group presented by BBS Race Engines. It's Chase Gassie and Lee. Matthew Cagle rolling on by. There is Nathan Dupuis on the Super Tune Tony Kart. And finally, the last one that made it through before going to the slowest group was Brandon Saraki on the Franklin Motorsports Merlin. But Nathan Golset on the 826 will lead us out here and through the back sector of the racetrack on the outlap. And already Cash has caught right up to him. And in fact, he's going to go straight on by. So Cash Perkins wasted 0 time to make his way into the first position on the circuit and guarantee some clear real estate to try and run down some quick lap times.
Yeah, there's some stout drivers here in this Group B for KA Junior. Cash Perkins, Gassiet Lee, like I mentioned earlier, got his maiden national level 125 victory in the OKNJ class. We saw Nathan Dupuis roll out there, Brandon Saraki as well, a home track kid here in the KA Junior class. So a lot of drivers here that you'd expect to see maybe a little bit further up, but who knows, obviously the happy hour session, really hard to go off of that because I think this was about the session, the KA Junior class, in which we saw that crossover from, the track being slightly still damp to the grip being back on the racetrack. We saw it towards the latter stage of the happy hour for the KA Junior class. So I think that 47.6 from Ty Fisher is a bit representative of what we can see, but it wouldn't surprise me if we're down in the low 47s towards qualifying. But as first lap is getting set to go underway, and for Cash Perkins, his first lap already puts him P6 here when his tires weren't even fully up to temperature yet. So now 7th, as we saw Max Whalen, he puts himself in 4th. How about it for Brady Shad as well? His first lap, he puts himself 2nd, the Franklin Motorsports Merlin driver there. A local here to Badger Kart Club. He has grown up in this area. For Brady Shad, very impressive to see what he's been able to do all weekend long so far. The pace has been there on board that Merlin machine. Let's see if he can keep it up for 4 more laps. Seems to find about 4/10, and I think he will do it if his first lap is already at 47.9.
Yeah, 47.9 for him, 47.7 for Travis Pettit. Let's see now as Golseth crosses the line. Here comes, looking further back, one of the Franklin Motorsports Merlin there, as Shad across the line for the 868 to third. He'll get close. Cash Perkins will go to the top, 47.639. Still with time to go in this group as qualifying rolls on for the KA 100 juniors right now. Mad Max Weiland on screen there in the white, blue, and orange Magic Kart. Let's see where he currently sits. It is 6th. It is 2/10 off. There is still time for more to try and leapfrog yourself up the boards. These drivers here only on lap 2, lap 3. Well, the slow group has been shuffled. Pretty much everyone minus Pettit outside the top 10. Hector Iturriaga, second fast in the slow group, down in 13th. Then Chaz Varial, 14th. Mateo Calderon, 15th. Here's all the changes at the top. Pettit still third. Brady Shad improves a little more. He'll jump all the way to a 47.54 and go fastest over Perkins. Golseth up the boards to 4th. Weiland moves up 1 spot to 5th. And then it's Brayton Zerves, Saraki, Gassiet Lee, Austin Dromelov, Nathan Dupuis, the top 10 currently. And it still could change more as they've got now 3 laps in the books. It's still 2 to go. There's still a lot of time in this group here. 2 more laps around to try and go faster. There's Cagle and Dupuis. Dupuis 10th right now. Matthew Cagle outside the top 10. 16th right now on the GFC.
Yeah, Brandon Saraki, his third lap is a 47.6. He just put himself up to third. So just for reference for the viewers watching at home, Saraki, I think, is the last driver to cross the line here. So he will be the one to watch when we get to lap number 5. Lap 4 in the books for a couple of drivers. And for Brady Shad, no improvement for him. Big improvement for Braden Zerves. He put a 10th and a half on Brady Shad, a 47.394. Top of the board for the 809 machine.
Big lap there for Braden Zerves in the BJR MDR group. Here is traffic. Bad news right now for Brady Shad, catching up to the GFC 823 Aluka Popescu, who is quick enough on his own in 10th right now. They've both gotten trapped behind the Orsalone 885 Tony Kart. That looks to be Sebastian Venegas, and Venegas shall drop a tire. Popescu had to bail out of line. Checkers will fly. This is it. Last lap and done. And none of them are able to answer the call. Braden Zerves now improves the provisional pole time to a 47.343. Here's Chase Gassiet Lee trying to move up. He will not on his last lap. Stays back in 7th. Cagle, Dupuis. Nothing there for either of them. We'll wait to see Brandon Saraki. He'll be one of the last to cross the line like you mentioned, Alex. Let's see if that bright lime green Franklin Motorsports Merlin has anything left in it. Last driver here in group number 2. No, sir. Lap 3 will be the best of their 4 at full speed. Saraki will stay 6th, and Braden Zerves now moves into the provisional pole spot with the fast group still to go.
Yeah, so 47.343. That pretty much answers our question on what lap times we can expect. You said low 47s. You mentioned even high 46s potentially in the cards. It might come to fruition here. They'd have to find about 3 more tenths to make it happen. But for Braden Zerves, the 47.3 is 3 tenths faster than what anybody did in happy hour. So clearly the track is still beginning to ramp up. And for Travis Pettit, I will say, from Group C, and now we're entering Group A, he still sits 8th, potentially a top 10 in the cards. To say at least a top 15 is almost guaranteed for Travis Pettit. And considering he did that out of the slow group with only 3 laps, really out of 5, because he got held up for 2 laps behind traffic. Pretty solid lap there for the Race Lab TV Kart. Speaking of Race Lab TV Kart, they had the first driver to lead these drivers on to the racetrack. It was Ty Fisher. He went quickest in happy hour, but it's all reset here in qualifying. Happy hour only sets the grid for qualifying. It's up to the drivers and the teams to set the order during qualifying. 5 laps is the distance here for Group A in KA100 Junior. These are the fastest of the fast in happy hour. Vidmontien is now going to lead the group ahead of Ty Fisher. Surprising that he actually chose to go around Fisher, because Fisher led the group out here, but Vidmontien decides, you know what, I want clean air, and I'm going to let Ty Fisher, I'm going to let the fastest man in happy hour follow me around. So let's see what Ty Fisher and Vidmontien can do.
I mean, like you said, Alex, that's an interesting strategy call from the place of Enzo Vidmontien to say, you know what, I'm going to go by. I'll let you follow me. I think it boasts a bit to his confidence, maybe his lack of confidence in Ty Fisher to be fast off the gate, off the gate, out of the gate there for the opening lap. But regardless, he looks good. Fisher still looks good, and if anything, the biggest benefactor is the RPG Cosmic right behind the pair of them. That's going to get a bit of a toe off of both, and that is none other than the 891 entry of Amador Martinez. So Amador had a great happy hour. He was one of a couple new names that really, I say new, he's been running the full calendar, but towards the top of the field, the top 5, top 10, that was a rarity, a great session for Amador Martinez. And now with Vidmontien leapfrogging Fisher, that's taken those original gaps they're spaced onto the racetrack with, shortened them for between not just those two, but also to Amador Martinez. He'll get a great look at the lines and braking marks, and he get a little bit of the toe off the back of Ty Fisher, as Dean Peterson sadly will not get the same benefit. He runs a little bit further back, but this is the downside. Amador, great run in the boot there. You saw Fisher had a four-wheel slide, and now he'll have to make the decision, do I pass and hurt my chances on this lap? I think he got to, and Amador does as well. He'll go by there in the back hairpin.
Yeah, Martinez says, you know what, I'd rather lose lap number 2 than risk staying behind Fisher there for another lap and losing lap number 3, because right now the pace for Ty Fisher doesn't seem to be there. Who knows what the setup's like, who knows what the tire pressures are set to, because like I mentioned earlier, this KA Junior class was the category in which we began to see the crossover from, you know, slightly damp to fully gripped up, as we saw with the lap times that Fisher did in happy hour compared to what we see right now from Braden Reserves at a 47.3. But how about it, Sebastian Garzón? He's going to top the board at the end of lap number 2 of 47.335. If Garzón can do that after 2 laps, who knows what they can do after 5 laps. Zerves hold on to P2. Chico Brown now on the RPG Cosmic up to 3rd. Benham Abernathy on the Hoots Driver Development. Oh, wow. Amador Martinez two-wheeling up onto the curbing, way into the grass and onto the dirt. That's going to ruin lap number 3, and really this next lap, because the run onto the straightaway is also ruined. So for Amador Martinez, that is a qualifying killing mistake. He's going to have to really regroup and make sure his 5th lap is perfect.
Let's follow Sebastian Garzón around. The Orsilon Tony Kart drivers headed on the front straightaway towards turn 1. What is this lap going to be for Sebastian? It's a 47.4, no change. Benham Abernathy, 2nd. And Enzo Vidmontien on top, 47.2 for Enzo, a 2.7 for Abernathy. 5 thousandths off the pace of our provisional pole sitter. With Garzón, Chico Brown now 4th. Braden Zerbs his time still holding strong in the 5th spot, with Ty Fisher holding on in 6th with 2 more laps to run for him. Where is Travis Pettit currently sitting? Quickest from the first group, down in 20th right now. Leapfrogged a bunch, didn't leapfrog them all, and most of the fast group hitting their stride as Vidmontien puts another good lap in. That's a 47.19 as he works his final lap now.
Getting closer to the 46. It's going to take a monster final lap Vidmontien to get down to that 46 mark. He'd be the first KA Junior all weekend long to see that lap time, but it is possible. That kart looks to be on rails. We kind of questioned why he got around Fisher on the opening lap. It is no question why he did it now. Vidmontien up on the wheel, a couple corners to go before he finishes his 5th lap here, Xander.
Yeah, and let's see, is it going to be another improvement for Enzo out of the back hairpin? He'll be the first to cross the line. He's the fastest currently. Can he open that gap, buy himself a little more time to the rest of the field? It will just barely not be enough to open it more. Ty Fisher's last lap, no change. Dean Peterson had to get by Amador Martinez the lap before. He does not improve. Martinez does. Laps late coming from Diego Ardiles and company. He'll jump to 7th. But we're going to have to look way back on the run order for anyone else to jump. How about Chico? Turner Brown to the top on the RPG Cosmic. He goes at a 47.14. Vidmontien, Benham Abernathy, Sebastian Garzón, Braden Zerbs, Michael McGoy, Diego Ardiles, Amador Martinez, Alexander Vanchev, Eric Doan, big final lap there for the Speed Sense Motorsports X-Pre driver. He goes to 10th, but Turner Brown had been slowly creeping up the leaderboards in the last couple of laps there, and they set that tire pressure perfectly, whereas Vidmontien faded on lap 5. Brown only got better. I mean, you look at his pace tracker on that session. He was at a 47.38 the lap before, and he was just catching up to one more driver, so maybe a little bit of toe. Whether or not that mattered, who knows. Turner Brown is your provisional pole sitter now here in BBS Race Engines KA Junior over Vidmontien, Abernathy, Garzón, Zerbs, Michael McGoy, great run there to 6. Ardiles, Amador Martinez, Alexander Vanchev, and then Eric Doan.
Yeah, what a final lap for Turner Brown. I believe the driver in front of him was Jackson Wolney across the stripe there. So Turner Brown timing it to perfection, making it work. So for Chico Brown, that is provisional pole position in the KA Junior category. What a run there. We saw Pettit. He was holding on to that top 8 spot for the first 2 groups, but when the fast group came out, nearly all of them eclipsed his lap time. He's outside the top 20 there. When we come back, though, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get ready and set for KA 100 Senior Qualifying.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race, and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com, the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Kart Class has done the hard work for you. We've traveled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Kart Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack. Pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States. And Australia, you're up next. So visit kartclass.com to get your track information.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Brandon Jarschak Racing KA100 Senior now released and onto the racetrack as we watch the first of the 2 groups, or first of 3 groups be released here. Just going out from final practice earlier on. This is the biggest total entry single class that we have on hand here this weekend. Still, we believe that all should transfer straight through to the main without issue. 45 in total. And going back to how final practice ended up, well, there was still some notables there. We talked about how Travis Pettit DQ'd in the KA Junior final practice, as well issues for Diego Ardiles. They kind of dropped them down to their qualifying group. Well, we have some storylines from this KA Senior happy hour session as well. Let's take a look at them. First and foremost here, loss of fast lap for the 968 of TJ Coyen. The 932 and the 968 were underweight and disqualified. That was both Nick Gabriel and TJ Coyen. So both of them with issues that have put them down in the slow group. Beckett Friesen didn't get a single lap turn. He's had to go to the slow group. And Aiden Rudolph along with Michael Biadzis were the first two out here. And Aiden Rudolph on the CRG Nord-Am black and orange colors is not a driver you would have expected just straight up on raw lack of speed to find himself in the bottom third of AKA senior group. But that's where he was when practice ended, 31st overall. He leads this first pack out, trying to put a good lap in. Let's talk to someone that knows about putting a good lap in. Big lap on lap 5 for Turner Brown as one driver has just absolutely buried themselves into the pillows. This is in turn number 3. Exiting turn number 1 as well. There's another driver off. Brian Reddig is off. There is chaos everywhere around the racetrack. Reddig off in 1. Another one off. No, this is actually in the back hairpin. Probably a driver that maybe two-wheeled it. It's one of the Nash Motorsports machines. And we're trying to ID who it may be.
Yeah, one of the Nash Motorsports drivers there pointing at his go-kart. I'm going to assume maybe brakes or, like you mentioned, probably two-wheeled it. It's probably the best bet there. It's a 960 machine.
So maybe Gavin Wardle. Gavin Wardle off there. So he was the driver that's off in the back hairpin. But so Wardle off, Reddig off. Mick Gabriel going to set the initial pace over Aiden Rudolph. And let's go back down as we were planning to chat with Chico. Turner Brown, you've had a busy couple of weeks, and now, it seems like the roll of momentum continues. You got a podium across the pond. Last weekend, you dominated in Cincy 2 weeks ago, and now you're on pole. Talk to me about that quali session, because it didn't really look that great until the very, very end.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that the pressures were going to come at some point, so I was just head down, looking to get a good lap in at the end, and it turned up to be like that.
Now, talk to me about this place here. Now, 3 really different racetracks for you over the last couple of weeks. I've asked a couple guys, and I don't know if every driver's been able to do a great job of describing to the viewers at home what's it like to drive on those fully rhino-linered corners, like the 2 big hairpins at the end of the lap. How treacherous is that to get through and not end up on 2 wheels?
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very hard. So much preparation goes into the setup and everything, the engine, just to get through those 2 corners. I mean, they're super bumpy, very, very off camber. They're very hard on the driver. It's very tiring. It's just really 2 of really the hardest corners that I think I've done on the U.S. karting scene. And I think it's good because it creates a challenge for the drivers.
Now, they're drastically different, right? They're the only 2 corners on this track that are lined with that rhino liner patchwork. Are you guys having to kind of make some setup decisions, like, cost versus reward benefit of, will it be better in those 2 turns, maybe worse on the rest of the racetrack that's not as high grip?
Yes, I think for sure all teams are having to balance their options and see what's better. I mean, that's what practice is for. Today and yesterday, it was all about figuring out what we got to do so we can get to this point in qualifying. But for sure, I think a high reward and a high risk to get the perfect lap in and perfect setup for those 2 corners and the rest of the racetrack.
Chico, we appreciate the explanation. That obviously adds a ton of insight, and seems like you've got it figured out so far. You'll get to start pulling KA Junior. Do you have a good enough package to do the same in X30?
I think for sure we do, and I bet you'll see me here in the interview like just now.
All right, calling your shot early. We like it, Chico. Good to see a smile on your face, buddy. Congratulations on being on the pole in KA.
Thank you, Xander.
Man, talk about confidence there. Chico is feeling pretty sporty, and, who wouldn't, right? You go across, you dominate the way he did his very last session here in the U.S. He pulled away and put on a clinic in Cincinnati. Then goes across the pond to the FIA Academy against all the best junior drivers representing their countries from around the world. Finishes 3rd, comes back here, pole, next official session. It's been a hot month of June for Turner Brown. And talking about the heat, I'm sure Mick Gabriel has welcomed it. He normally does not go onto the racetrack when it's rainy or wet. But in the dry right now, he is fast. 46.95 for quick Mick Gabriel. That's half a second clear of TJ Coyen's best kart and Aiden Rudolph's CRG. Big couple of laps from the AEM Karting Cosmic driver.
Yeah, impressive stuff there. As checker flag is out for Group C there. So Mick Gabriel's on the top of the board of 46.951. I don't think that lap's going to be good enough to hold on to really even a top 5, top 10 spot here in KA Senior. But considering he's in the slow group, had some traffic throughout that session, Mick Gabriel will certainly take that after being underweight in the happy hour. But for further back, for the likes of Coyen, for the likes of Aiden Rudolph, again, like you mentioned, a driver on pace was in Group C. we don't really expect him to be down there 5/10 back from what we saw from Mick Gabriel. Really, that lap time from Aiden Rudolph is actually, that wouldn't even have put him on pole, I don't think, for the KA Junior qualifying session. So for Aiden Rudolph, I mean, really lacking the pace. Caleb and I both got a chance to talk to him this morning. He said, listen, he's welcoming the rain. He loved the rain because it helped free up his go-kart. But when the rain went away and the grip came back to the racetrack, he is struggling to keep that go-kart free and, take some grip out of the go-kart. So the issues are, like Chico Brown was mentioning, those last couple of corners with the Rhino liner, it is hard to kind of balance the setup between, do you want to hop too much or hop not at all and really have no grip there? And I think Aiden Rudolph is, finding the balance pretty tricky to find.
And he's not alone. There are a number of drivers right there with him. Tristan Farber, local to this racetrack, has not been able to get as many laps as he would have liked to make his successful return. Brian Reddick's another one of those. Obviously, Reddick will start tail end for all the heat races. Same with Gavin Wardle. Luca Quattromano on the Interim S Kart Republic also did not get to complete all of the laps. Michael Boyadzis got 4 of the 5. Same with David Martinez, 4 of the 5. The top 9, I think, got the entire session. Even still, Farber, Valen Venkatesh, Raheem Alibay has had some good runs this year. Farber, Venkatesh, and Alibay especially. And then you really can mark Aiden Rudolph in that group as well. Tall drivers struggling with the high grip conditions in those back hairpins. We've seen some tall guys be fast like Alex Feldstein, but you got to know exactly how to get through there. And the higher grip penalizing a handful. Now we go to the middle group of the 3 for KA 100 seniors. So let's go and see who all makes up this group by checking out their happy hour times earlier this afternoon. Now we watched that it was Chase Buscalia, looked to be Lorenzo Kaufman, and the Millwright Shootout winner and the new holder of the Wisconsin Sword, the Shootout Sword, Ryan Persing. So this is 16th on back in this group. 16th for Persing and happy hour, Lorenzo Kaufman 17th. They were roughly 4/10 off the quick time. Chase Buscalia, Lucas Smollett, Christian Miles finds himself in this group. He is in the championship fight. I believe he might be leading the points coming into this weekend, if not in second. So he was 20th in happy hour. Cooper Shipman, Colin Roos, Quentin Angeli, Javier Herrera, Luke Welcome, Dylan North, Donovan Bonilla down 27th, Emery Lida, Dallas Dunlap, and Keegan Kaminsky 30th. So some big names way down the boards here in KA Seniors' final practice session that have put them outside of the fast group in qualifying. Thankfully, again, the track has dried enough that we're seeing some drivers from those first and second groups hold on decently well. Maybe not perfectly well, but hold on good enough to stay in the top half, top 20, top 15 starting spots overall.
Yeah, I mean, this Group B is stout. It goes to show you how incredibly stacked the KA senior field is all throughout, because to have that many big names sitting here in Group B from 16th through 30th in the happy hour, it goes to show you just how difficult it is to be quick, not only around this racetrack, to be fast in general in a KA senior package. Let's see what the first lap for Chase Buscalia shows. So far, not that great, but for Cooper Shipman, it puts him 4th. His first lap already better than a majority of Group C. Christian Miles up to 6th already. There's him making a move on one of the Franklin Motorsports Merlin drivers. So that's going to be really this second lap kind of done, but that's not really the lap that matters. The lap that is important is what we've seen from most drivers. Lap 4, lap 5, the important ones. We saw Chico Brown make it happen on the final lap. We've seen a couple of drivers make it happen on lap 3 and 4 and kind of pull in early. You saw in Group C, many drivers opting not even to finish the session. They said, you know what, 3-4 laps, I'm going to pull in, I'm done. That's all this kart, this tire can handle. But for many drivers, and it's really the theme throughout qualifying, in the history of qualifying, that second to last lap, that last lap is the important one. So these are just the banker laps to make sure that you can get anything in, as Buscalia goes to second, now 3rd as Shipman goes to second. So far, Mick Gabriel's 46.9, starting to hold up here, but I presume as the lap times continue to fall, it will get eclipsed. Christian Miles improves on his lap time slightly, still needs to find about 5/10.
Yeah, and I mentioned Miles in the points here. Cooper Shipman is your championship points leader on the Iron Rock Motorsports Chrome, Red, and Black Tony Kart this weekend by a mere 50 markers. Jesus Vasquez Jr., 78 to Christian Miles. You can see he has caught up to Lucas Smollett. Franklin Motorsports Merlin had to make the pass there in the hairpin. He's tracking down Christian They've only got 2 laps complete. They're just starting to begin lap number 3, so they'll have 2 more to go, which is good news for Coop. And still, to be at a 46.96, his second lap, still putting him second overall and a hefty margin back to third, is going to make up for what was a rougher run in happy hour, where the points leader in the championship found himself down in 20th and third in the points back there with them as well. Jesus Vasquez Jr. had a rough go of things at Trackhouse Motorplex, drove back forward in the main to salvage some points. He actually was the highest in the championship fight, just barely in the top 10 in happy hour earlier this afternoon. But look at the lap shipments on. He has closed up tremendously to Christian Miles. This, if it's anywhere good, could be the pole. White flag in the air. Miles trying to get more. Shipman does not improve that time. I thought that might have been a good lap for him as Smolik is off. The 9.01 of Lucas Smolik off and alongside the barriers here, so his quali comes to an early end.
Yeah, looking down the order here, not many drivers improving on their laps. Buscalia, his 4th lap is a personal best. That'll put him 4th, about 3/10 back. There's Donovan Bonilla, 47.3, a driver that we haven't really talked about much in the KA senior category, doing double duty as well. He sits 5th, almost 4/10 back from what McGabriel did, a 46.951. For reference, the fastest lap time in happy hour this morning, or I guess this afternoon, was a 47 flat by Alex Feldstein. So Mix Gabriel's 46.951 is quicker than maybe a lot of drivers would have expected. We thought the track was ramping up, but so far, nobody in Group B able to eclipse what McGabriel's been able to do. A lot of improvements, though, down the order. Colin Roos on his finals lap. That'll put him 4th. Christian Miles, his 5th lap. It's 7th, only good enough for 7th. The 3rd driver in the championship, the TB Kart Race Lab driver, 3.5 back. That was Emery Lida we saw across the timing screen. He sits 14th. He was very confident heading to this qualifying session, but really seemingly off the pace. Keegan Kaminsky down in 12th. His qualifying session's over. Aiden Rudolph from Group C, he still holds on to 13th. But now, with Group A heading out on the racetrack, headed by the 966 of Alex Feldstein. He knows that it's a pretty tall mountain to climb, actually, a 46.951. So let's see if he can improve upon his 47 flat that he did in happy hour.
Yeah, I mean, the track was starting to get pretty even by the time the third groups, the K100 seniors, were onto the circuit in Friday afternoon practice. So Mick Gabriel's 46.9, I mean, that's a pretty stout time. We've already seen now the points leader in the championship just be able to barely get within reach of it. 18,000 back for Cooper Shipman and nearly 2.5 to 3/10 back to Luke Welcome. Colin Roos in the 9:59 close. In fact, it was only about 11 thousandths from 3rd to 4th to 5th. Bonilla 0.5 back in the 6th spot. Christian Miles close there in 7th. But Miles, again, it's not just 7th. It's 7th with still the best 15 drivers to roll from Friday practice. So that's what's even more scary. Like Alex Feldstein, as we've talked about, but it's not just him that could potentially go to the pole. The entire top 6 in that final practice session were all scary close. Austin Jers, we caught that moment there where they had to make a front-end adjustment before the practice to swap the spacers out around A.J. Myers, James Overbeck, and of course, Jesus Vasquez Jr., he's in the top 10 in happy hour. He could be very, very fast and really upset the point standings. There's 50 points up for grabs just for the pole award alone. That would tie them up if Vasquez Jr. Took the pole away from everyone else here in qualifying. But we're going to find out the answers to it all here in a few moments as they've got the engines fired for the final group. There was a little bit of kart recovery to be done, and mainly I think probably to roll the scale lines forward as there's the command from Gridman Steve, Feldstein, Austin Jers, A.J. Myers, James Overbeck, Quentin McPherson, and then Nick Terlecki, all within 1/10 Then Alan Isambard, Jesus Vasquez Jr., Connor Ferris, and Max Altman rounded the top 10 there, while the rest of the top 15 will be sent out onto the racetrack. There's Finn Bailiff, Cameron Weinberg, and Steven Eisert was the last driver to make it through to the fast group with the cuts that were made through practice.
This is anybody's qualifying session as it stands. for Mick Gabriel, it's one of those spots as a driver that you hate to be in, right? Watching the fast group go by as you sit P1 with 16 more drivers out on the racetrack that you know are capable of a lap time similar to yours, and you don't have anything to say about it because you have to watch from the sideline. But so far, that lap has been able to stand through 2 groups, but with the last group to go. Green flag out for the first of 5 laps here. All the drivers are pretty spaced out here. No one's really getting held up. No one's getting that small baby toe. So it's all going to be up to the drivers. And here is the 923 A.J. Myers. Mainly a shifter driver. Sometimes decides to dabble in the KA Senior category. Here for USPKS, he's decided to run the full campaign in the KA Senior category, and it's been pretty solid all year long for A.J. Myers, who really only hops into the single speed stuff when it is race day, race weekend, should I say, and so it's incredibly impressive to see what he can do. It really goes to show you the caliber of driver A.J. is. Has to run it, helps a bunch of guys run a team over there at the Magic Camp, has his own, job that he has to go and do, and then decides, I'm going to go and race as well. And he's always been incredibly quick here. First lap in the books for A.J. Myers. Not great first lap, but obviously it's only lap 1 of 5. Don't expect to see record-breaking lap times so far, but they're in the 47s already. Still got a bit of time to find.
Yeah, the Hote TD Tony Karts were quick initially. Feldstein 17th, 47.6. Terlecki 47.6 as well, both of them within 200s. Austin Jers was good on his opening lap also. So into the top 20 for the first 3 of this next group. Then it was Ferris, McPherson, and Kane Martin in the 990 Nash Motorsports. EOS kart was quick. But look at McPherson here closing up to James Overbeck in the back hairpins as they'll cross the line, and we'll start to see some movement. Austin Jers towards the top 5. He'll go to 3rd. Overbeck to 7th. Make that 8th. McPherson now up into the 4th spot with a big lap that time. Vasquez Jr. to the top 5 on the GFC. Jesus is closing in. That's if that ends where it is, it would still hurt in the points, but at least he wouldn't give up everything. It's 50 down to 10 for the top 5 in qualifying, with the one final format putting a little more pressure on this single lap pace in the championship that has no drops, no burner sessions. Everything counts right now. Cooper Shipman trying to make it count from the second group. He sits at a 40-point haul and a 30-point gain, but now it's going to get dropped. He'll drop to 3rd as Austin Jers comes by. Here comes Overbeck and McPherson. McPherson will go to 4th. Nick Terlecki to 5th. A.J. Myers down to 6th. Shipman still holding as McPherson goes by on James Overbeck there for P3. We're waiting for more. Alan Isambard moving up the boards. Max Altman as well. Big lap from Finnegan Bailiff. He'll go 7th as Kane Martin goes into the top 5. And Steven Isert, who was 15th in final practice on the Sodi, just went to 3rd.
A lot of shuffling for position here. Lap 3 in the book. Still 2 more laps to go. The times will continue to fall. Here's the 989 machine, Nicholas Terlecki. It's been an incredible start to the year for him. Got his first 125 main event victory in the OKN category. Up on the wheel now throughout the final corner. Lap 4. What's it going to read from McPherson? No improvement for him, but for Nicholas Terlecki up to P2 now.
Major lap there for the Hote CD Tony Kart of Nick Terlecki. Austin Jers, the privateer entry, still quickest. 46.865 for Austin. Terlecki, Gabriel, Isert still 4th. Shipman has been bumped to 5th. Jesus Vasquez Jr. tied Cooper Shipman. An identical lap time for the pair. Shipman's second lap, second best is still better, but Vasquez Jr. is going to get one more chance.
Whoa.
As Myers nearly tips it over. Hand in the air. He's frustrated. He sent it on that last lap, trying to get more out of it. Another big guy struggling with the high grip conditions as the checkers wave. Jers bailed on that last lap. He will not improve anymore. Here comes McPherson and Overbeck. Nothing. Terlecki, no either. So Nick Terlecki can't do it. And Connor Ferris, he'll be the next to cross. Here's Max Altman by. Waiting on Finn Bailiff. He had a great lap the lap before. So did Kane Martin. Bailiff to 7th. Here comes Steven Isert. Nothing. Cameron Weinberg as well. Anything on that last lap? No superhero moments on lap 5. Everyone's going to end up dropping down or holding even. Shipman will extend the championship lead by 10 points, even after having to go to the slower of the 2 groups in a tiebreaker over Jesus Vasquez Jr. You talk about how close this championship might get. They're 50 markers apart, and now in a dead tie, 1/1000th of a second, marking the difference of 10 points in this KA Senior Championship. Give it the way of Cooper Shipman, and that will open it to a 60-marker lead to Vasquez Jr. and company. But Austin Jers, welcome back. He's on pole here in KA Senior over Nick Terlecki, Gabriel, Isert, Shipman, Vasquez, Finn Bailiff, Kane Martin with some good runs. He'll end 8th. Quentin McPherson, 9th. AJ, who, man, I can only imagine if AJ Myers was visibly frustrated and was sending it like that. He must have been on one heck of a delta lap that time by. He still ends 2.5 tenths off with his previous best holding in P10.
It goes to show you how quickly it could catch you off guard, those Rhino liners on the racetrack. I mean, a driver like AJ's caliber, all of a sudden two-wheeling it, it makes me, start rubbing my hands together for the heat races tomorrow, because it could happen to anybody. You could be leading the race, and all of a sudden you are two-wheeling out of nowhere. So like you mentioned, AJ probably looked at his delta and said, wow, I'm on an absolute flyer. Or the opposite way around, you might have looked and said, I need to find about a tenth or two here. Let's throw it in to the final couple of corners, and it wouldn't stick for him. It's the balance. Like Turner Brown said, he said it perfectly in the interview earlier about there's a balance between trying to set up the go-kart for the rest of the racetrack and set it up for those final couple of corners with the Rhino liner to keep the kart kind of planted and not hopping on you. And for AJ Myers, still a great qualifying session for him, but would have liked better than a 10th place position for the Magic Man on board the Magic Kart USA. But for Austin Jers, congrats on pole position in KA Senior, but now it is time for Mini Swift, Xander.
So yeah, Sodi Racing USA Mini Swift on deck. Here's Nico Orbezo, Braden Wagner, the first of the two groups, I believe, to send them out. 30-plus for the Mini Swift drivers, ages 9 to 12 years old, and they are the middle part of our 7-class rotation here for the U.S. Pro Kart Series Badger State Grand Prix. While we're still waiting for them to be released onto the racetrack, we've already got our top qualifier now in KA Senior. Let's go back down into the scale line. Austin Jers is standing by. Austin, it's obviously showing there's not a lot of rust on you. We know you've been busy, but haven't been doing a lot of go-kart racing, and now you're on pole over 45 guys. How'd you do it?
And the kart was set up great like always, and I haven't been here in a while, but I grew up at this place, man, so I got so many laps here, and it was just a good lap, good solid lap, and ended up coming out on pole.
Now, I know the weather hasn't been ideal today, but how has this weekend felt? Has it been kind of like a homecoming for you to get back and see old friends and people you may have missed as you and your dad have been chasing more car racing this year?
Yeah, for sure, man. The car racing's done. It's been very well this year, but it's really good to get back in the go-kart and see all the people I grew up with over the last couple of years, and it's been a great time so far this week.
We've seen so many guys get up on two wheels, guys and girls in the back two corners, especially that silo hairpin. What is the secret? Can you give us any tips here of how to stay on 4 tires through that corner?
There is a technique to it, but I can't really say much. But you just can't go in too deep, really.
All right, playing the cards close to the chest. I like it, Austin. I see that competitive fire in your eyes here. Who do you want to thank for all the help so far to put that fast OTK on the pole?
My dad, BBS Engines, always being super fast. And, my dad and me have done all the wrenching this weekend. So
one heck of a father-son duo, and that's a cool sight to see for a lot of our viewers, I'm sure. Congrats, Austin. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, then.
All right, again, Austin Jers on pole in qualifying here for KA100 Senior. And now, like I mentioned, we're on to our next group here. 31 drivers on the list for Sodi Racing USA Mini Swift. And kicking things off, it's Nico Orbezo in the first of the two groups. Braden Wagner and company that are making their way towards turns 2 and 3. The initial lap, a 50.273 for Braden Wagner. Much quicker than the drivers around him there with a big lap on the 120 GFC. So good start for him. The rest will file in on their opening laps. And young Nico Orbezo's RPG Cosmic making his way through the boots. Going to fall all the way down to 6 as we complete lap 1 and work for the final 4.
Yeah, like we saw in Happy Hour, the Mini Swift class was one of those categories that we looked and said, there's a couple of really heavy hitters further back than we would have expected. One of them being Nico Orbezo, one of them being Braden Wagner. Paxton Romero, one of them as well. How about fast Aston Wyatt? He sat in 26th position. We saw him have a bit of an issue in that happy hour session. And then Maxwell Mancha on board the SLA machine. He was at 24th on raw pace in happy hour. He seemed pretty confident this morning when I spoke to him. I think just the difference in weather throughout the morning really threw him off. So I expect him to be a lot quicker here in this qualifying session, but with about 6/10 off in happy hour for Maxwell Mancha, a driver that we expect to see consistently inside the top 5 or top 10.
Yeah, Maxwell Mancha, teammates to Simon Klein and Benja Fernandez here in this class. They've got a couple of different entries in the mini swift division for SLA kart racing, trying to move up the boards. The 174 is down in 12th right now, and his other teammates, like in Fernandez and Klein, are in the fast group, so they have yet to run. But for Braden Wagner, a 50.098, let's see if the GFC goes better. Look how close he has reeled in Nico Orbezo already. That's going to be another big lap. 50.03 for Wagner. Orbezo will cut it down to half a second. Then he's going to let Braden go. Classy move by Nico to not potentially impede unintentionally Braden Wagner. He'll burn this lap, set himself up for one final chance to potentially go back up the boards. Is now Jacob Majeski. Alyssa Eddy moving up now into the top 5.
Yeah, impressive lap for Braden Wagner. A 50 flat on lap number 3. Again, I'm going to reference the happy hour laps again because at this point in happy hour, the track was essentially fully gripped up. Not as much as what we see right now in qualifying, but the best lap we saw in Mini Swift in happy hour, 50 flat as well. So Braden Wagner, that's a really good lap for him out of Group B. He's going to let Nico Orbezo go. Wagner is starting to slow up here in the final corner. Let's see if he can get the throttle hammered down. He's going to try to time a run there on Nico Orbezo. That's what Braden Wagner is doing. So for Wagner there, he basically gave up lap 4 in the hope that lap 5 was going to be a lot better for him. For Jacob Majeski, not going to improve on lap number 4. He's still about 2.5 tenths back. Alyssa Eddy, she's still getting ready to complete her 4th lap. Now it's in the books. No improvement for her. Not many drivers. You have to look all the way down to the 6th place driver of Paxton Romero before you see a driver improve on lap number 4. That's a 50.6 for Paxton Romero, about 5 tenths off. Then behind him, Maxwell Mancha, personal best of 50.6 as well. He actually almost matches Romero's lap time, but for 7th place for Maxwell Mancha, he's going to hope, and for the SLA crew as well, hope that they can find a little bit more pace on board the SLA machine, because for Maxwell Mancha, again, the pace not seemingly there as they cross the stripe for Wagner. No improvement for him. No improvement for Nico Orbezo, or slight improvement for Orbezo, 50.4. A couple other drivers crossing the stripe now. Orbezo goes to 5th. Lorenko Varela up in the 3rd spot there. Majeski could not improve on his best lap time. A couple more drivers crossing the line. That was fast Aston Wyatt up to 9th. Alyssa Eddy, personal best, up to 4th. Maxwell Mancha gets up into the top 5, a 50.3 as well. For Bashi Jimenez, a 50.5. Oscar Wonderell, a 50.5 as well. It is incredibly close from about 4th on back. But for the provisional pole sitter before Group A goes out, it's Braden Wagner on board the GFC machine, a 50 flat, ahead of Jacob Majeski. A couple more drivers getting ready to cross the line, ahead of Lorenko Varela, Alyssa Eddy, Maxwell Mancha. That's your top 5 in Group B. Group A getting ready to get on the racetrack.
Yeah, we've got more to roll here from the Mini Swift class. This is just getting going, and it is Braden Wagner's GFC that stayed on top the entire way in that group. He was the 2nd one to not make it above the halfway marker and get to roll out with the rest of the fast young drivers. Nico Orbezo was the 1st, or Nico will fall, like you mentioned, to 6th, so he's got a bit of hoping to do that. No one else will jump him too far back, but Braden Wagner, 2.5 tenths to anyone else. That's got to build some confidence as we take a look back down the grid. Here is Marco Samet on the 175 BJR MDR LN kart, and he is one of many who have figured this place out pretty well. Last weekend, or 2 weeks ago, pretty fast over at the SCUSA Pro Tour in Cincy. Pretty fast, really, has been the story of his season. He needs to put some hardware to join the pace that the BJR MDR team has given him in that LN kart. And then to his inside as we get set to roll our fastest from happy hour. What a fun surprise for Jose Carlos Murad on the Iron Rock Motorsports Tony kart. Charlie Swain's group, like many of the kind of mid-sized teams,
don't make it to every single major, but they do a ton of training down at home in Houston, Texas at the Gulf Coast Kartways in Katy, Texas, testing over at the Speed Sports Racing Park. Lots of driver development. And Charlie has obviously gotten Jose Carlos running pretty good to go quickest of 31 in that practice session preceding qualifying, ahead of some big names like Salmon himself, like Royce Vega, who's been at the top. And then as well, what a fun surprise for Nico Katowski on the U-Race livery, the red, white, and blue suit. Nico, fourth overall in final practice for J&M Racing.
Yeah, and then further on back in the final, in happy hour, it was John McClellan, Parker Ives in sixth, Tucker Tribe, Ashton Roon, Josh Bergman, Benja Fernandez, Maxwell Macho's teammate for the weekend on board under the SLA camp there. Then Enzo De Janeiro, Alex Chandler, Simon Klein, Grayson Walcott, Julian Rivera, and Brandon Ing, the final driver of the 16 fast drivers here, getting ready to hit the racetrack to get their warm-up lap started and then start their first of 5 qualifying laps. Here's a look at the 175. BJ, our MDR driver, Marco Samet, looking to get a decent tow here behind the likes of Jose Carlos Murad, who was the quickest in happy hour. But like I mentioned, he went a 50.01 in happy hour. Braden Wagner a 50.03. Again, another great lap from a driver in the slow group. It's pretty much been the story of qualifying is there's at least been 1 or 2 drivers in each slow group that's made it inside the top 5.
Yeah, so is that going to happen again in SOTY USA Mini Swift? Or will we have a number of drivers leapfrog Braden Wagner before it's said and done? 100 total, or more than 100 total points, I believe, up for grabs on the session. 50 to the pole man, down to 10th in 5th. Braden Wagner, provisional pole, 50.03, but we have not yet gotten a lap out of Jose Carlos Murad or Marco Samet. Jose Carlos was way better out of the boot and entering the kind of the new section, the extension to Badger Kart Club here. Let's watch his opening lap. How is he going to look against the rest of the drivers that have run 5 already from that first group? He will jump all the way to 10th, Samet to 11th, half a second off, and a couple big laps behind them. How about it for Royce Vega? He'll move way up the boards there to 6th on his opening circuit.
Yeah, you mentioned it during happy hour, Sander. Royce Vega, he's had a good year to his standards, but qualifying has seemed to be the one session that really has plagued him throughout the season. He's usually able to get his way up throughout the heats and the finals, but if he can just fix qualifying, he might be able to make his job a lot easier on the Saturdays and Sundays. So far, so good. To be at a 50.3 on lap number 1, who knows what he can do after 5 laps.
Another driver that needs to work on his qualifying per his parents and team as well is Josh Bergman. If you ask Josh, he'll tell you that he's got a whole list of reasons as to why he hasn't qualified good yet. But that was a good opening lap for Bergman. He went to 5th. Now he'll move up, get bumped a little bit as the rest of the pack cycles by. But Josh Bergman, in his rookie Mini Swift season, got his first podium back in Cincinnati. Now he's trying to vie for his first win. It might come a little easier if he gets a big lap here. He'll go 3rd. Parker Ives to the top. Murad in the middle there in 2nd. And it is all fast group drivers now in the top 5. Braden Wagner's been pushed to 6th. It's a 49.69 from Parker Ives. 10th and a half clear on Jose Carlos Murad.
Wow, and this is only lap 2. Who knows the pace that the RPM driver can have with 3 more laps to go. But for Josh Bergman, the 2 drivers we've mentioned, Bergman and Vega, who've kind of struggled in qualifying throughout the year, it looks as though it is turning around here in Dousman, Wisconsin, as Vega gets ready to cross the line. That's a personal best for him, a 49.886 for Royce Vega. Nico Katowski now puts himself inside the top 5 of 49.898. Ives improves again, a 49.638 for Parker Ives.
It's just incredible how good Parker Ives' pace is in this Mini Swift class. When he is on, there is nobody even close. We saw him dominate at Charlotte. He is now 2/10 clear, and he is not slowing down one bit. This young man, also rookie season, you would not guess it though, already a couple of major wins. 1 at home at the Trackhouse Motorplex stop of the U.S. Pro Kart Series. 1 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway stop for the Stars Championship Series. He is slowly creeping his way forward after kind of a bit of a rougher go of things in Houston to this championship. This 5-round, no drop, no mistakes allowed season that the U.S. Pro Kart Series has put together. And after that good run he had in North Carolina, he sits 116 markers out of the lead. Ashton Woon on top. Woon now jumping to third, Market second. So he'll stop it, but still, if Parker Ives gets the pole, that's another 10 points. If they end as they stand on the championship points leader, it would also put him ahead of Royce Vega and jump from third to second in the standings. So Parker Ives hunting for a pole and to put himself more and more into that championship conversation. On the other end, Woon trying to limit the damage with a good run as he sits P2. Checkers in the air for the rest of the pack. No big moves on that final lap from anyone yet. Still waiting. Here comes Ives across the line. Big lap for Parker, hopping in the seat. No, sir. 49.63 is where he will stay. Ashton Woon is the next up. Look, he's caught a group, though. Did it hurt? Did it help? Won't make a difference. He will not go any better. He'll stay second. And the last couple to cross the line, that's Bergman, Alex Chandler going on right on by. Nothing for them. Simon Klein could not improve either. Brandon Eng will be the last one to cross on this Catalyst driver development at Talcart back in 14th. So no one really going any better on that last lap. And it's Parker Ives by nearly 2/10 over Ashton Woon, Super Tune Peril, and Jose Carlos Murad third. Bergman with a great qualifying effort in fourth. Nico Katowski fifth, continuing that strong run of pace on the J&M U-Race Sodi kart actually for Nico. Royce Vega, Alex Chandler, Benja Fernandez, Enzo De Janeiro, and Braden Wagner, the top 10, 4/10 apart. So Mini Swift now all wrapped, and we've got 3 more groups still to go for qualifying. X30 Pro Junior, KA100 Masters, and X30 Pro Senior. And unlike the previous classes here, it will just be these 3 sessions that will bring us to a close right prior to 6 p.m. Central Time. And for those listening in the paddock, as we cycle through the rest of the results here in Mini Swift, we've got the ever popular U.S. Pro Kart Series and national event Friday night cookout provided by Vara's Steak Truck. So if you're in the pits here, you want some free dinner, well, I'm sure the line is probably already forming over by the Vara's tent, though, Alex.
Every time we do a cookout, by the time our broadcast is done and I get in line, there's about 150 people in front of me, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to have to wait this out until the line gets smaller. But, I mean, it's a great event that they always put on, the cookout. Vara's Steak Truck, it doesn't get much better than that. I mean, I go to restaurants and get steak, and it's not as good as what Vara's puts together. So if you're in the paddock, please stay until after the qualifying sessions because it doesn't get much better than that cookout. But how about this kid on our screen, the 868 machine? It is Turner Chico Brown. We heard him after KA100 Junior when he put it on pole, and we asked him, oh, do you think you have enough for X30 Junior pole? He goes, I think you're going to interview me again.
Yeah, calling your shot here. But look, man, it's not overconfidence when you can back it up, right? So and then the same with it not being trash talk or anything else like. He has just been that good here through the year, and especially hitting his stride in this summer stretch. So this young man is one of the fastest in X30 Junior as he gets set to roll off. He was surrounded at the end of happy hour by the black and white Speed Concepts racing machines, Jackson Wolney and his former teammate in Diego Ardiles. All three have at one point or another been paired up as a duo amongst others on the tent. They have never all together been under the same team. And now, once again, it is Ardiles teaming up with Jackson Wolney. They were together last year under Rollison Performance Group. Now they're together, as he mentioned, under Speed Concepts Racing. The only difference is they're on 2 different chassis. Jackson Wolney, I believe, is on a Kart Republic here this weekend, potentially, and or at least he's using the different bodywork. He may be on an OTK steel. I know they've been experimenting with some different tubes, but Red Speed for sure with Diego Ardiles. Let's go down, though, to pit lane. Parker Ives, pole in Mini Swift qualifying, presented by Sodi Racing USA. Parker, I said it while you were on track. When you and your team are on, you guys are on another level. You were nearly 2/10 better than everyone every lap. What was it like?
Oh, it was so good. We had a good kart, so like this for a while, and my mechanics, everybody just been keeping it up, and we've just been doing good.
You've definitely been earning yourself a lot more experience and reps talking to us and getting some interview time in. Now, Parker, this is one of those racetracks where I think might just be tight enough that you could break away. You've broken away on a big racetrack. Do you feel confident enough at this place that you can make it an all Parker Ives show up front?
Probably not. We got some good drivers, but we'll try.
All right, Parker here. Before we step away, we'd like to give you the chance to thank everyone that makes it happen for you. Who would you like to give some kudos and credit to for this pole award?
My mom, my dad, my mechanics, Rich and Braden Church for supporting me, my aunt and uncle for watching most of my races. Oh, Tap Engines for giving me a machine.
That's all right. That probably about covers it, Parker. I know you got Ryan Perry Motorsport as well, your team this weekend for sure. But nonetheless, hopefully you get another shot to give even more kudos here, and we'll be talking to you more after the heat races tomorrow. But pack it up, change out of your suit, get ready for the cookout tonight, and have some fun, Parker. You put it on pole.
Thank you, Xander.
All right, Parker Ives here, and Mini Swift will lead us to green for all three heats tomorrow as we go back to the X30 Pro Juniors. Let's check in. Enzo Vidmontien by 300ths has the pole over the top three. Wolney 29 thousandths back. Ardiles 33 thousandths back. Turner Brown right now way down the box. He is 10th on the 768 RPG Cosmic. Alex?
Yeah, 4.5 tenths back for Chico Brown. Didn't really get to see if maybe he's been held up during this qualifying session or is just genuinely off the pace so far. 3 laps in the books, now 4 in the books for Wolney as he reclaims top spot of 46.207. 1.5 tenths clear of the field. Many drivers starting to cycle through. Ty Fisher up the third, Davin Roberts the fourth, Ramirez the fifth, McGoy sixth, Gasly Lee seventh. Chico Brown right now hasn't crossed the line yet for his fourth lap, but as it stands, sits 13th, now up to fifth, 2 tenths back. His teammate goes to sixth. It's an RPG 5-6-7.
Yeah, I think something must happen on that opening lap for Turner Brown. I don't know if he was waiting to drop back or put it off track on his own. He definitely went a lot slower on that first lap around. Had to take that second lap to build the tire temp and heat back up. He has since done that. Now he's catching up to the 787 of Levi Sangera. You can see him consistently checking over his shoulder. He's going to bail on this lap as well. So Brown waiting for the money lap, and it will not be on lap 4. It will be lap 4, though, for Enzo Vidmontien. 45.903. Big lap for him over Diego Ardiles. Jackson Wolney still third here. Almost all the top 10 quick on those times as you've got then Davin Roberts fourth, Ty Fisher fifth, McGoy, Gassi at lead, Chico eighth there, not getting the answer, and Victor De Alencar kind of followed him to say, all right, we'll both back off and wait on lap 4. Let's see how lap 5 looks for the pair, and then it's Alexander Vanchev. His fourth lap promotes him to the 10th spot, but Vidmontien will reset. Final lap. Checkers in the air. Ardiles now to the top. He'll go past him. So will Jackson Wolney. Enzo Vidmontien down to third. Here's Chase Gassi and Alex Vanchev. They'll go to the top 5. Michael McGoy can do nothing there that time. Here's Mad Max Weiland. No top 10 for Max. The rest of the group goes by. We're still waiting for Turner Brown and Victor De Alencar. Are they going to catch traffic? It looks like they did a bit. Brown ends 5th with a good final lap, but Victor De Alencar got not much out of it. He ended up down in 9th, and it's an SCR 1-2. Diego Ardiles and Jackson Wolney on the Speed Concepts Racing Speed Lab Engines entries, the new teammates, and fantastic on debut for Diego.
Diego Ardiles pretty much doing exactly what he did over at the RPG side of things. Now on SCR, puts it on pole. His teammate and buddy in P2 and Jackson Wolney. Vidmontien, the lone TKG driver out there in that group, puts it third. Vanchev, that was an incredible lap for Alexander Vanchev to put it up into the top 4. And I think Turner Chico Brown, if it wasn't for that traffic, at least had a lap good enough for the top 3, because we saw him pretty much all over the bumper. I couldn't see what driver was in front of him, but he thought he gave enough of a gap, didn't give a gap. Still a top 5 for Chico Brown, but I think the confidence he showed after KA, he probably wanted a little bit more.
Yeah, Chico Brown definitely was hoping for more than probably just a 5th. That's still a safe spot to start from, though. Inside row 3 for the heat races. The only downside is, again, that the point swing, right? The points are so massive. That's a big help in the points for Diego Ardiles to get the pole there over Jackson Wolney and the rest of the X30 Juniors, presented by SCR, as the wind continues to pick up here. K100 Masters on deck, presented by Nash Motorsports. RPG X30 Pro Senior will follow for our final 2 sessions of the day, but Ardiles' lead now will open up by 10 markers over Jackson Wolney after qualifying, with the bonus points there going his way. Of course, Jackson Wolney enters the weekend second. He'll still stay second after quali. Victor De Alencar enters third, Vanchev fourth, and Turner back in fifth. But it's one of the bigger championship margins that we have of our 7 divisions coming into this weekend, with 143 markers, marking it now, I guess, 153 more or less for Diego Ardiles over the crowd in X30 Junior. So Diego Ardiles, great in the pink and purple colors, great again as well in the red, white, and black STR Red Speed colors, as KA Masters now come to life here with Martin Stone and Scott Kopp getting ready to go.
Yeah, speaking of the purple and pink, I mean, Martin Stone up there in P1. We saw Barrios inside that top 5, top 6 in that happy hour as well. So the RPG driver is pretty quick in the KA Masters class. Scott Kopp is about 2/10 back from what we saw from the 401 machine of Martin Stone. Nicky Coelho was about 2/10 back as well. So a 47.8 is the lap time that we saw in happy hour. Let's see if we can see lap times closer to that in qualifying. A lot of the classes so far during qualifying have eclipsed their happy hour time by at least 2 or 3 tenths. We saw it in the X30 Junior class. We saw it a lot in the mini Swift category. They eclipsed it by about 5 tenths. So as grip levels continue to rise, as you know, the temperatures stay pretty cool. The track is not going away from these drivers as much. So let's see what these KA Master drivers can do. Only 12 of them out there on the racetrack, but they're 12 of some of the most, I'd say veteran drivers, most experienced drivers out there. A lot of this, like you mentioned earlier, thanks to Westige, he really put this group together, allowed these Masters guys to go out there and form this KA Masters class so we can have it on the national scene here at USPKS.
Uh-oh, we got problems for Laurentiu Mardan. The Technocart driver was up there having some words with Steve, the grid marshal, and I don't know what the problem.
I think he might have been late.
Yeah, might have been late. And again, the cart goes that you've got to have the cart on the ground before they leave. And what's odd about that is, I don't believe we've run anywhere close to early. If anything, might be a tick behind. We've been pretty much on schedule through the day today. So, per the posted event timeline, let's just double check that here. Qualifying for K Masters rolled at 5:29. Steve, the grid marshal, Steve is always on top of his stuff. I mean, he's been working with the U.S. Pro Kart Series for many years now. He is a professional. He will not make any mistake of sending a session too early, and he knows the rule book as well. And sadly, Larry, might have just been a moment too late. So in the championship hunt, but going to have to start P12 for all the heat races outside of a DQ.
That makes it fun for us to watch, though. Xander Laurentiu Mardan, one of the drivers that we have come to know and love in the KA Masters class as a, pretty much provisional top 5 guy in every single event that we go to. Having the start tail end of the field for the heat races is going to make it fun for us to watch. So far, lap 1 of the books, we're on lap 2 now, and it's Scott Kopp at a 48.3, top of the board, 3.5 tenths clear of Martin Stone. Stone went quickest in happy hour. The quickest lap times that we saw during happy hour were down to the 47. So they still have a bit more lap time to go out there and find. But so far, it's the Franklin Motorsports Maryland driver on the top of the board. It's a Franklin 1, 4, 5, and 6. RPG 2, 3 right now with Martin Stone and Barrio 6, 2nd, and 3rd. Here we go, lap 2 about to be in the books for Scott Kopp as he crosses the line. What is the improvement going to look like? It was a 48.3, now it's a 48.2 as Martin Stone off the pace that lap, but Nicky Coelho a 48.183. 2 laps in the books, and it's a Franklin 1-2.
Yeah, 2 laps complete right now, and for Scott Kopp and Nicky Coelho, it's not just a Franklin Motorsports 1-2, it is a Wisconsinites 1-2. So defending home turf for Scott Kopp and Nicky Coelho right now over Mario Barrios, who is having just, again, can't say it enough, such an impressive return that is probably a lot earlier than maybe the doctors would have recommended, but he's obviously medically cleared to get onto the racetrack, but definitely not at 100%, and he is still being, speed-wise, right in the thick of the top 5. Here's another lap from Kopp, 48.04. There's Martin Stone. He'll go 5th. Doesn't improve. Can Barrios improve? He will, 48.28. So we saw them very close, this whole field, in final practice. They're actually pretty spread apart here right now in qualifying. Kopp and Coelho are close. Don't get me wrong. That's 5,000s from first to second. That would be potentially our closest pole run of the day. Mario Barrios, though, 2/10 back. Another 10th to Vestige. Another half-tenth to TJ Nevels. 10th.5 from Nevels to Miguel Mir. Stone, a 10th off. Martin Stone, again, one of the fastest in final practice and through the day. Back there in P7, 7/10 off the pole.
Yeah, there might be a bit of an issue. I don't know, because Martin Stone on at the end of lap 1 backed off his lap. At lap 2, backed off again. This time, he just wanted the clean space because now puts a 48.1 in the books. He goes to 4th. His teammate goes to 3rd, Mario Barrios. But again, Nicky Coelho, he improves ahead of Scott Kopp now. So they're down into the 47s, 47.967. 400th is the gap between your top 2. It's the final lap of qualifying for the KA Masters. Can Scott Kopp eclipse his teammate? Can the RPG boys find a little bit more pace? We'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah, Mario Barrios there. We're watching him through the boot. Check this out. Off the racetrack for Scott Kopp. Something happened here. This is a weird place to go off entering the boot. See him. He looks like the kart's fine. He's going to drive back on. I don't know if he locked up. That'd be the only thing I could think of. Again, you're kind of going off to the left and then locks off to the right.
Here comes Martin Stone across the line. No improvements there for Martin Stone. Coelho improved slightly, a 47.919. TJ Nevels, what a great lap for him, a 58.0. He goes up into the top 3, bumps Barrios and Stone down to 4th and 5th. A couple more drivers getting ready to cross the line there. Miguel Mir improves to a 48.5. He's down in 7th place. It looks as though Nicky Coelho is going to hold on to this provisional pole position. That's going to be it. It's a Franklin Motorsports 1, 2, 3. Coelho, Kopp, TJ Nevels, and then it's Barrios and Martin Stone. But I was going to mention, Xander, I think what happened to Scott Kopp at the entry to that corner, a lot of drivers like to use a lot of the curbing, and then it tends to fall off before it gets to the grass and the dirt. I see a lot of drivers kind of test the boundaries there. I have a feeling if we talk to Scott Kopp at some point, he probably dropped the tire there and it just looped him when they entered the corner.
Yeah, very well could have been. And we've obviously gotten our fair share of rain over the last 24 hours, so that the grass probably even more slippery, and certain curbs, holding water. The paint, I mean, it is just absolutely, slick, just to say the least, when it gets wet as well. So one class remains, folks, and it is 2 familiar faces at the front of the field. Austin Garrison kind of hinted at it, but again, he mentioned the field's probably going to be a little bit spread out. If it's anything like what we saw in Happy Hour, it's him versus the number 1 plate flying Ryan Norberg. They both were well above the rest of the pack in final practice. So it could be a head-to-head fight here this weekend between 2 Floridians that have spent their entire careers around each other. Then beyond them, of course, ZCD. We know he likes to play spoiler, and if it's not going to be the 363 as the fastest go-kart, you could bet tomorrow he's going to make things exciting. He was 4th in the final session. Splitting him and the 2 Florida boys was another Florida-based driver, ADT, Alessandro DeTulio out of Miami on the Interim S-Kart Republic, was 3rd quickest. So we'll release them onto the racetrack and go to the rest of your X30 Pro grid. Couple notables that were not too good at the end of that last session. Brandon Lemke, Brandon Carr. The Brandons were back at the end of the top 10. Lemke especially probably pegged by many to be the driver to beat here this weekend. He's a bit further down. Brandon Carr, similar to a few drivers we've talked about in different classes. He's kind of been the one in the X30 Pro class where it's been bad qualifying, not great heats, slowly inching forward. By the end of the weekend, you'll go, oh, there he is, P5, P4, P3. So if he can start his weekend a little bit further up the boards, he might have a real shot at challenging for that race win. As we look at the championship, after a crazy weekend in North Carolina, Garrison leads by 125 points over Paulie Massimino, who also was really off for where he was a month ago in 2nd, but he's 2nd in the points here. ADT 3rd, 1 back. Brandon Carr 4th, and then Norberg needs a pretty big weekend here in Wisconsin to get back into the fight as we head to Cincinnati and then Indiana to close out the 5-round U.S. Pro Kart Series season, and he tries to keep that number 1 plate aboard his RPG Cosmic. So we're working the beginning of lap number 1. He was the first one out. He'll be the first one to cross the line and set the benchmark here in the 17-driver X30 Pro Senior grid. Let's see what Flying Ryan sets us off at here. First time, 46.530. Here's Austin Garrison. He'll go a half-tenth better, 46.466 for the 329.
DeMello about a second off. Many drivers way off the pace. Massimino 2/10 off on the first lap. Pilecki puts himself in the 4th. Keeble up to 5th, make it 6th as his native Brit puts himself up in the 6th. Many drivers starting to cross this board here. 46.3 for Josh Holtz. I was going to mention he's a sleeper driver. He didn't do any testing this morning, really towards the later half of yesterday. He was too busy working on everybody else's go-karts, went out for happy hour, had to fix a few things on the setup, decides, you know what, I'm going to go out there and put this thing on the top of the board at the end of lap 1 in qualifying. So the Holtz Drive Development driver up to P1 at the end of lap 1. Brandon Lemke looks to be out of qualifying. He's going to push this thing back onto the racetrack and get it fired up. But Brandon Lemke has made a mistake here.
Yeah, Lemke way off and across the racetrack, and I don't think he's going to be able to return. There is something amiss on that Franklin Motorsports Merlin as he goes to take a better look at it. That's going into turns 2 and 3 on the backside of the racetrack as here comes Austin Garrison out of the boot. A 45.47, and Alex Feldstein has now moved into 2nd. Norberg back to 3rd. So Davie, Florida's Austin Garrison hunting for the pole now as he works lap number 3. He will still be the 2nd to cross. Feldstein on the Holtz DD Tony Kart looking good as Garrison bounces it through that last hairpin. How does Norberg look at the line? Back to the top. Can Garrison answer? He can by a lot. 45.06, nearly 4/10 clear. ADT up to 4th on his lap. He'll close up a little, but Austin Garrison having the field covered right now. Terlecki joins his teammate up in the top 5. He'll go 3rd. Feldstein did not improve on that lap. Little bobble for the 369. Keeps him back in 4th. Donovan Bonilla up to 5th. Brandon Carr 6th. DeTulio, McPherson, Massimino, Fernandez the top 10 now with 2 to go.
That is a jaw to the floor lap for Austin Garrison. 4/10 on the field with 3 laps in the books. 2 more to go here as we get ready to see Norberg, Garrison, and DeTulio cross the stripe here as Garrison resets fast lap, a 44.954. Norberg, his personal best, still 2.5 tenths back. DeTulio up to 5th. He needs to find about 7 more tenths. Here's Alex Feldstein leading a group of DeMello and Keeble. Bonilla up to 5th, Carr to 6th, Keeble 7th ahead of Feldstein, DeTulio, and McPherson.
And Feldstein's going to be in trouble. He's going to get passed by DeMello and Keeble, and Paulie Massimino catching up to him. He had nowhere to go. Feldstein started to hit the brakes that lap, and Paulie's pissed as well as his hand goes in the air saying, why'd you let off the gas before you even checked over your shoulder? I've made that mistake before. It is a instant move, you know, kind of a knee-jerk thing that you don't think instantly maybe to go back, because Feldstein already thought his lap was screwed over. So Paulie's lap is going to be done. His lap was good enough to go to 3rd, though. Feldstein's obviously not going to get a lap, so Massimino's going to bail for the pit lane. But to answer the call from Austin Garrison, can anyone do anything else on this last lap? That group won't either. And it is Norberg 2nd, Massimino 3rd, DeTulio 4th, Terlecki 5th, Bonilla, Josh Holtz 7th. Eli Warren picks up 1 spot there on the last lap over Fernandez. But Austin Garrison, 2 tenths better than Ryan Norberg, Paulie Massimino, Alessandro DeTulio, Nick Terlecki, Donovan Bonilla, Josh Holtz, hometown kid Quentin McPherson, 8th. Brandon Carr down in 9th. The Brits on row 5. Alongside him is Harley Keeble. Feldstein goes from quick, then still quick through happy hour, then 11th by getting passed on his last second to last lap and then hitting the brakes on what ended up being the last lap there in the 369. Eli Warren, Santi Fernandez, Henry Lepard. Surprising from Zachary Clayman to Mello. It wasn't bad early. It just never really came together. He had a 46 flat. It'll put him 15th. A lot of work to do. Brandon Lemke got 1 lap in. It puts him just above Mingnan Zhu, but he will also be fighting from the rear. So there's a look at the scale line as Lemke's already got his card on the stand, and he is out of here. He is going straight back to the Franklin tent as his day comes to an early end, 4 laps shy, and Well, his life just got a whole lot harder for the heat races tomorrow to roll from 16th, knowing how spread out the field is. Because it'd be one thing if they were a little bit tighter up front, Alex, but 2/10 for the top 2, 6/10 for the top 10. It's rare we see a spread that big in senior divisions. We've got it here this weekend.
Yeah, Garrison called it after happy hour. He predicted it would be a bit larger field spread than we've come to expect at other racetracks, but Garrison's had this thing figured out since last week at the money race until his motor went. So it's really been him and Ryan. We could have predicted this since the money race, but throughout the week, this is what we've come to know. It's going to be Garrison versus Norberg, but at this point, it's Garrison against the rest of the field because he put a clinic in that qualifying session. Massimino, impressive to do it in only 4 laps because most other drivers' best lap came on lap 5. We saw Paulie's lap kind of get, blocked there towards the end of that session to no fault of Feltine, just one of those things where he thought his lap was done, so he pulled off, not expecting Massimino to be closer behind him. But I'm a bit shocked with how large the field spread is. I thought, nonetheless, with a tight racetrack like this, a lot of drivers would actually be closer than they are. But the top 3 within 2/10, but then the rest, it's 6/10 down to the top 10, like you mentioned. A lot of work to do for many of the drivers right now, but it looks as though SCR has had this place figured out in the junior and senior categories.
Yeah, great speed for Speed Concepts Racing and the Speed Lab motors there they've got going on with Austin Garrison, Diego Ardiles, quick as well. Of course, Ryan Norberg and the ever-fast RPG Cosmics and AVP Power, their second. Paulie Massimino and the BBS Racing engines, PJR, MDR, LN Kart third. So Paulie making me eat my words a little bit. He was not fast through the happy hour by his standards, still okay, but second in the points, ends up third after qualifying with a great lap there on lap number 4. Might have been on for something a little better. And this year, this hot streak that Paulie has been on recently, maybe didn't have as much of that same luck in Cincinnati for the Pro Tour, but he'll get to start inside of row 2 and right behind the guy he's chasing in the championship standings, Austin Garrison. But the championship points lead just got a little bit bigger for the Davie, Florida native. Austin, dude, 2/10 clear on the field. At first, you and Ryan were head-to-head, and then you just continue to get better and better and better. That last lap didn't even look like, well, it by most standards didn't look fast. You bounced it through the last hairpin, and it was still a flyer. Talk to me. Is that the best way to get through there?
No, I kind of overcooked it a little bit in that last corner there. Was probably pushing a little bit too hard. I know I was catching Ryan just a little bit each lap. But, I don't know if anybody else is, close to my time or not. So for sure, like everybody else qualifies, it pushed all the way to the very end. We only have 5 laps out here. But I seen yesterday I ran a 9. And then that was a really wicked fast time. And I knew after I kind of ran that, I'm like, I think we're sitting in a pretty good spot now.
Well, if we didn't have any reason to put you on every poster that we make when it comes to the U.S. Pro Kart Series class, you've added another reason to do it with that qualifying performance. What can you take away from a practice day like today? A driver's experience as yourself, you had one dry session, a bunch of wet sessions, and now we are looking at a day full of heat races that are going to be around the same or a little longer than practice. So, what can you kind of learn from a Friday like this?
Honestly, probably not too much at all. The only thing you can kind of go and learn is that how fast the track dries. It only takes like an hour, if not even, for a track to go and dry. If there is just random rain that comes through here, because I know on Thursday, even last weekend, there was no rain on the radar, but we were getting rain. So for sure, driving today and on a track that's really wet, and a drying track, you can go and benefit from that. But besides that, just running in the rain all day, trying to go and set up something up for tomorrow in the longer heat races. Honestly, not too much. Basically, all day yesterday was the time where you really needed to go and learn the racetrack fast as possible and start setting up for Saturday.
Well, Austin, congrats on the run. It is a ton of effort to try and put together a racing season that you've had with so much action, so many weekends behind the wheel. Who would you like to thank for this awesome performance to extend that championship points lead?
A huge thanks to Speed Concepts Racing, and I can't do it without all those guys. I mean, they're just amazing. They put so much heart and effort in all of it. It's Mike, Mario, Alex, Cody, Adam, Tom, Richie, all these guys are just amazing underneath the tent. They make everything roll smooth. We relay data compared to like us and juniors, and kind of go and piggyback off of that, which is a really good system that we have going. But these guys just do an amazing job, and we've just been getting faster and faster each year.
Well, definitely you guys are firing on all cylinders here today with pull awards in X30 Junior and X30 Pro Senior. Congratulations, Austin.
Thank you.
There you go. Austin Garrison's points lead on X30 Pro Senior is not going to be getting any smaller as of today. If anything, a good bit bigger. He ends up on pole by 2/10, and now all 7 divisions are set to go racing when we return to Dousman, Wisconsin. The first time in 11 years that a national event has headed all the way to the Badger Kart Club, and we are happy to have more than 200 drivers here in attendance. Racing action kicks off first thing tomorrow morning, folks. You won't want to miss it. Live here on Kart Chaser for the U.S. Pro Kart Series Round 3 when we come back Saturday morning.